Grab something. All right.
We're live. We're live.
What do you have, Steven?
You know, we need to do an alternative investing podcast.
Oh, God. He's going to show us some baseball cards.
Not baseball cards. Worse.
Oh,
How about issue 52, first appearance of Black Panther?
how much does that go for? Oh, you have a 6 on it.
Yeah, it's like $1,200 or $1,400. It's worth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even for a graded of a 6, that thing must be like.
I think a 9.6 of it is like $36K.
I doubt your pricing here on your. No. I believe that the 9.6 is probably 36K. But if you go down to a 6, I'm sure that thing is like $50. I heard the grading prices fall off like.
Yeah, it's from the early 60s. I think it's 1962. There's not many of them in circulation. How about I found something that you can't get with SoFi, safety deposit boxes. I visited mine today, especially for you, Tanner, and I grabbed 2. How about a 41 Amazing Spider-Man first appearance of Rhino?
Oh, there you go.
I would have pulled some more stuff out. But
where's your mic? Where's everyone's audio today? Where's Amit's mic? Where's Steven's?
My mic's right here. You can't hear me?
I can hear you. You just, I don't know. Everyone kind of sounds like trash.
Alternative investing.
Is it better now?
Since you always say that I don't want to talk about stocks.
No, guys, what is up? What is up? I hope everyone's here. Is the chat going?
Tanner, introduce it. Go ahead. You got it.
Dude, I can't do the intro every single time. You go ahead. You take it back from me.
There's only one word that matters for today's podcast. Only one word. Lucky number 7. 7 Dolores, baby. I don't even know if we ended at 7 today. I have no idea. But we hit at 7, which was awesome. And that was really exciting this whole week. So I guess we'll start it off from there. Thank you, everybody, for being here. 150 people here. Steven, what were your raw thoughts as we rallied into the 7s this week?
Pretty happy. I'll believe the whole student loan thing when it happens, though.
What do you mean by that?
He's still not convinced.
Nope.
Still not convinced about what?
I'm just not convinced that they are returning August 30th.
Why?
It's been over 3 years.
So isn't that the point? It's probably
the point
why.
Is it has gotten extended. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll get very excited when we have 100% certainty that they are coming back.
Okay. Tanner, what were your thoughts?
I think this is as close to as 100% certainty as possible. I think the last straw to pull on would be that there was an amendment left in there saying that if a new emergency could happen, that could be a reason to pause student loans. But the truth is, if we're looking at the votings and everything from the Senate, they're trying to even go after the forgiveness. Now that won't go away right now, but it just gives you the idea that this is not even the problem that they had with the bill. There was some amendments that wanted to be made during the debt ceiling agreement, and it was like about natural gas pipelines and stuff that Steven's into. Okay, that's what they wanted to go after. Not
the Valley Pipeline. Oh yeah, Mountain Valley Pipeline.
But dude, it's coming back. Is Tevis on dial-up internet? Yes, he is, by the way, for the comments that are saying that.
Is this guy in another hotel room?
Yes, he is. He's doing a 12-month-long vacation. He's never coming home.
I should be back on my old setup by next week, but I can hear you guys okay. And like it's like at a 10-second lag, but I can hear you guys okay, and I'm on 360p, so thanks.
Yeah, that's terrible.
All right, so I think let's get into the student loan stuff. So this week we had 2 big pieces of news. Number one is the debt ceiling passed. So the United States was able to increase our debt limits by about 1.4 trillion to about 31.4 trillion, which is good over the next couple of years. And that created more stability in the markets. So that was a catalyst in general for all stocks in the macro. Number 2 is student loans were negotiated to essentially go away in terms of what the $400 billion Biden wanted to spend on getting rid of student loans. And the Supreme Court's the pause is going away as the bill is passed. If the Supreme Court approves it, then the United States will likely be able to spend $400 billion to eliminate $10,000 for borrowers, but that's likely not going to happen. As a result of that, it seems like that wasn't priced into the stock because Noto and team guided that they were going to grow without student loans. And given that is being priced in, that's about $80 million a quarter or something like that, given all of those loans are going to have to be refinanced by the number one refinancer in America, which is SoFi. So I guess, Tanner,
a lot of things I would disagree with there, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me what you disagree with.
The largest refinancer in America is not SoFi, not even close.
For student loans.
No, it would still be Earnest or one of these companies, SoFi I wouldn't even place at number one, regardless. But as a public company, they're a great bet, and for one that also goes after multiple different, different areas, they're an amazing bet. But that being said, even Noto put out that they're hoping that they'll do something around $2 billion of originations, give or take 200 million. A quarter whenever this raise actually comes back. That's exciting. But that being said, I mean, let me get into it a little bit because I'm getting super excited and I'm stumbling over my words.
As excited as you are about Square or Block or whatever the hell.
Okay, we'll do that later. Relax.
Twitter wants you to come with the heat.
Yeah, but dude, it's the SoFi Weekly. I'm not starting with Block. Okay, we'll finish with Block, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong and why you're wrong about every growth company that you've covered, like Tesla and everything along these lines. You're just a value investor, okay, and that's fine. Knowing that Steven's a part of SoFi as a value investor.
I'm invested in SoFi and Palantir. Those are not exactly value stocks.
No, I agree. But let's talk about student loans. Okay.
I just like cutting them off.
That's fine. Okay. Here's the great things we have to know. Student loans for SoFi are less risky than our unsecured personal loans. One, they're a much longer term investment. The average FICO scores for those products are around 765 roughly. And then the average incomes are even higher at 170,000. Now, this doesn't mean that's the student loan average. That's what SoFi has historically gone after. So very, very exciting because it's a very safe product for us. And they are very, very profitable. What's really exciting is that this is not a cannibalizing product, okay? In no way, whenever we add on student loans, will this have any effect to our personal loan business, home loan business, or any other products. All this is going to do is have a new effect on monetization, bring in new members at a cheaper cost, and then also have an amazing cross-sell ability to what Steven says is our target audience. We have a SoFi arena, and who shows up to those? College kids. Like these are the exact people that we want. We just want maybe a higher end we want the top of that list. We want people, refinancing their law school loans and to get their actual doctorates and these sorts of things.
Let's expand on that real quick. So Tanner said something that's very important, expanding membership growth. And when student loans eventually come back, the probability, because we don't know anything definitely, but the probability is that SoFi student loan business is going to pick up and that people that are not currently members are probably going to utilize SoFi for student loans, which means they are a possible candidate for membership with direct deposits. And there could be huge cross-selling ability across the board. So this is not a one-trick pony. And for me, the money that we're going to generate on the originations is the icing on the cake, because I think there's going to be a good conversion rate into members and other products.
Yeah. And one of the great things that Chris from Data Driven Investing said, and I agree with him and I disagree with him at the same time, but he said that this is the product that we've had since 2011. We are known for student loans. Okay. This is where all of our technology has sort of gone, is scaling that product to 10 times what it is today. So to scale back to that price, or to scale back to that origination volume, will be very cheap. We already have it. The problem is that I disagree that it will be free. It's not going to be free to scale up that high. A large amount of the employee base that we had that was doing student loans back then, as it went from 10 down to 1, just pivoted to unsecured personal loans. If we're just doing a higher amount of origination volumes, it will need more employees, and there will be an increase in expenses. So I don't think you can count it as free growth. But more originations, more loans that are being signed needs more heads. So that will be a thing. But either way, guys, it's so funny how everyone is reacting so differently to this. The stock ran up to $7. I think it's completely justified. This is a massive segment of our business. This is our largest product coming back. Like it's going to be really, really big. Even if it takes a little bit to get used to, it's a certain amount of new revenue and adjusted EBITDA to our business that just simply wasn't guided for. This was not supposed to happen at this time. It is happening. If it doesn't, Steven, then yes, it'll go back to the $5 ranges, but that's perfectly fine. I'll just acquire more because I do think it will end eventually. I personally think there's...
I don't know if it would go back to the 5s. Maybe it would, but all I'm saying is while I want it to occur, the SoFi guy, where's our shirts?
Hold on, we have a special guest that's joining us. He's been on a 2-week hiatus. He's back. Riley.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. How are you guys?
Okay. We are good. So let's get your take into this real quick, and then Steve, we'll get back to you. Student loans, SoFi running up to 7. How do you feel?
It's pretty great. It's not as good as my Palantir shares, though. I got up to like 80%. Like and I just checked it like this morning. So no, this is all good. I'm excited. Everything's coming together, all converging. A lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes. I mean, like the big the big thing that we've been talking about this whole time is that here in the near term, SoFi is going to be building all this new tech, and it looks like we are. So
can I just give a shout out really quickly to Dylan Colbert really quickly?
Yes.
I appreciate the $5, man, but you should have bought the membership thing instead. You could have got a little extra behind the scenes of me and Steven arguing instead of just sending me $5. I do appreciate it.
Oh,
but
they're going to get a preview tonight.
Yeah, you should have got a little more bang for your buck. Thank you, though, Dylan. I appreciate it. I wish I could send you the membership thing for free, but I can't. So.
What do you mean you can't? Of course you can.
I can't just enable. I can't enable a user.
What are you doing? Give them a code.
There's no cut. You can't do that. That's not how YouTube works.
What type of platform? Oh, you're using YouTube? That's why I use Patreon.
No, I'm a YouTube fanboy.
So what's his name? Steven, do you think the stock will get back to 5?
I mean, anything's possible. I think if somehow a rabbit gets pulled out of the hat, because don't forget, this is one of the big issues that they campaigned on. And it's not repaying, it's not the student loan forgiveness that's a problem. Student loan forgiveness is fine because if I remember correctly, the average person has $70,000 worth of debt. So even if they forgive 10 or 20,000, if you have a Pell, you still have to refinance 50 or 60,000. So you're going to get the originations. It's if they extend the pause somehow again.
That's Tevis, your thoughts?
Yeah, hopefully I don't freeze during this. But
You're
look,
good. Your video is good. You're good.
I think just looking at where they were in 2019 and extrapolating out, it's been like 4 years since, their last student loan number, since, March of 2020 was when they cut it off. It's been 3 years since then, over 3 years. They were doing 2.4 billion. I think that the business has significantly grown. The cross-sell abilities have grown. SoFi's ability to execute and make those members way stickier has grown. They've offered new products in that entire time. And so now that it's back, I do agree that marketing spend is going to increase, but I think that that's going to be a positive. If it's coming back to the 5s, I'm not sure about that. Anything can happen in the macro, but I think that like everything that I pretty much held was up this week because it was just a macro, like the debt ceiling in general was just a macro tailwind for the entire economy getting back on track. Number one, and then I think number two. What was I gonna say? Well, yeah, let's leave it at that for now. I think that Sofi has an investor conference coming up very soon. I think it's next week, and so now that we actually have some confirmation that student loans is coming back earlier than expected, we expect that. I expect that Anthony Noto is going to be tackling a lot of our main questions right now, right? Like we had the initial run up based on people buying the rumor, based on people essentially front running the news of this debt ceiling or tailwind passing for SoFi. Now SoFi has to actually back it up with the numbers and with their plan on how they plan on essentially capturing all of that market. And I think that Anthony Noto is going to be doing that next week in this chat.
Okay.
Sorry, is Anthony Noto like doing something next week? Like, is there investor conference?
Yeah, I think there's another fireside or something along these lines on the 7th, if I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I'll circle back.
I'm excited. Definitely gonna.
If it's anything like the last call, it'll be really, really exciting. And then also he'll have a lot to talk about whenever it comes to student loans. We'll get a better picture at what he's thinking about in terms of volume for originations, and maybe even some insight on if the market's even looking for these types of products. Because if they can sell those loans, that's exactly what we want to see. And yeah, it's extremely exciting to know that without any real addition to expenses, that we get an entirely new business model. Like that's unheard of for the most part in any industry. You know what I mean? There's usually some sort of got it. Thank you, Adam. There's usually some sort of cost accrued to adding a new business line to their most popular segment. Like I think Chris even said this, like before, what was it, 2018 or something? Lending made up like 99% of SoFi's business. Like now it makes up 70%, but not at the fault of lending, at the amazing business that financial services has done. Okay. Then we had the majority of our actual lending business taken out from under us. Actually, it's not the majority. Personal loans were actually much bigger. I'm actually cutting myself off here. Personal loans were much bigger earlier than people think. If you actually go back and look at the numbers, personal loans were quite successful even before student loans were taken away. But that being said, it was still a major part of our business. And now it's coming back in years to come as rates actually start to fall and refinancing actually becomes a really, really good product that people will look to do. Very, very exciting. I know Amit dropped off, but that will be very exciting to know whenever actually, rates start to fall. Yeah. If I'll say it here, if the stock dips below, I don't know an exact price, but if it dips below 6 again in some sort of regard, I will go much heavier than I've ever gone into SoFi.
I think you want to say balls deep, but you don't want to be politically incorrect. But that's basically what you're saying.
I don't see anything in my portfolio hitting a quarter of my portfolio.
What? You are too young to not have something as a quarter of your portfolio. What are you doing?
This guy's an ETF over here.
I run a small little ETF of like 30 to 40 positions, which I want to start shrinking.
I thought you said ATF.
I think the student loans coming back is great, but I think it really gives us an excuse to advertise the most efficiently we could possibly do, and that's hit our core target person that we're looking for, is those college students that are not being represented by the FICO scores in America. Everybody knows college students are broke, but they have massive potential for capital earners in just a short amount of time after they get their degrees. And SoFi is a master at headhunting those people when we did have student loans. And not only that, like the way that SoFi does student loans is way different than a lot of other companies. Whenever you apply for a student loan, you have like this kind of like warden relationship where like this company's making you pay all this money back, and over time, like there's no relationship built there. But SoFi is really good at maintaining and building relationships with those students. And especially like whenever you complete your student loan, maybe it takes you 5 years. SoFi is kind of like pretty famous for sending big care packages with a bunch of SoFi branded stuff saying that they're debt free, and it makes like this really, really good impact on customers. And I can just imagine that all these new people that we will be getting from student loans are going to be there for the rest of their life, because it's just going to be an unmatched offer that they can't meet anywhere else. And it's just going to be like every single student loan person is just going to be an advocate for SoFi, especially in college when you're mingling all the time. It's going to be an explosion to me. I'm really excited to see the advertisements and all these new high quality members that we're going to be getting from this.
Riley,
So I have
want
a question for Tanner.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
So
can
you
I just
said
add
that
real
you
quick,
would go ahead.
Stephen? Can I? Yeah, no, super duper quick. Yeah, I actually looked at their events and presentations page on the IR. So the Piper Sandler conference is on the 7th, Morgan Stanley conference on the 12th, and then the annual shareholder meeting on June 14th. So those are opportunities for more details around this move in general. That's
All
all.
right, so I got a two-parter for Tanner.
For who?
For you,
Okay, go ahead.
you said that if SoFi went back to 6, you would go pretty heavy into it. Part A, do you think SoFi at some point will be a $10 stock?
Yes.
Okay. Under that premise, what's the real difference between 6 and 7? At 7, if it goes to 10, it's an appreciation of 42.86%. If you get it at 6, it's 66.67%.
Okay.
So if you're that bullish, just go deep right now.
So I said under 6. So I'm talking about in the
Okay,
5.
so 599 is under 6.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
want me to change the percentage? I'll change the percentage.
No, but obviously I don't mean 5. Okay. Here, Chris.
66.94%.
Steven, listen.
Yes.
I said Chris because this is who I'm usually combating is Chris Patel. But I'll combat you right now. It's called opportunity
let's just buy
cost.
on Monday. I'll buy with you.
It's not the difference of putting cash in and saying, okay, what's the difference of those two appreciating assets? I'm having to put it up against other positions that I also like. So I have to weigh which one I like more. So what is the difference? The difference is what positions am I going to sell that I have less conviction in, and are they going to appreciate at that rate? So if it was cash, I agree with you. I'd put my money in now.
What other stock do you have a bigger conviction other than SoFi?
Like 5 other companies.
Can
I
you
can name
name?
2 of them.
Yeah, I don't like going through my portfolio like that. From time to time, I'll talk about it, but I don't. No.
Not PayPal or Upstart, right?
No.
Oh, I know 3. I know 3 of them, I think.
I don't think you would.
Oh, side bet.
I definitely know one of them.
No, I'm not playing that game.
No, side bet and honor code. Just say yes or no, and I'll take it for what it's worth.
No, I said I'm not
I'm
going to play that game.
Very certain that I know 3 of them.
I already said I'm not going to play that game. You can't just make me play the game.
Why
Okay.
not?
Because
I think
here's the thing: is that I
people in
find that
text would, say they want Tanner to play.
even at a lesser stake than being on YouTube, you can be emotionally convinced to do different things with your portfolio based on other people's opinions. I like to keep my stocks to myself. That I want to do research on my own companies. I'm comfortable with certain ones that I pick, and I'm fine with that. I don't want opinions on my positions in the public. I like my positions, and I'm going to keep them.
Do you let people sway your decisions?
I don't.
All
I
right,
don't try
so
to, but
so
it does.
Shopify probably.
Oh, I forgot about that one. I think I got 4 now.
if Shopify wasn't on your list, I don't know how.
No, it honestly wasn't. I was thinking of 3 others. So I think I got 4 out of 5.
Oh, this is great conversation, especially on the SoFi weekly.
Yeah,
pod.
right. Okay, so I did want to pivot to SoFi. Riley I haven't seen you in a while, buddy. I hope you're doing great. You had some strong opinions on a product that I had no clue about, and one of them was the member events. SoFi's hosting member events with alcohol and stuff like this. You used to have a big thesis on this. I read somewhere, and I'm trying to just do a little bit of research right here to try to find the actual source. I hope to get it for you by the end of the episode, at least. But that the product count for the people that show up to those events is much higher. I read this recently. So it was something like if a member was to show up to a SoFi hosted event, that they would be at like 3 or 4 products per user. But I'm gonna find that for you. So it could just simply be that.
So what point are you trying to make?
Well, you were wondering why they were hosting I'm not trying to correct you or do anything. I was just saying that you had some thesis on it, and I'm saying it's probably just as simple as like higher user usage.
The way that I think about SoFi member events, which I think is at its very early stages. Well, first off, like if you just take like the idea and match it with all the other banks, this is something that no other bank in America does, and that is like host events, and not just host like gatherings, like conference hall like type things, but like actual like party events at like bowling alleys where people can get drunk and hang out. Like in America, the banking industry, usually a customer stays with a bank for at least an average of 14 years. And it is going to be really, really difficult for SoFi to gain older customers just because of all that friction. And I don't see like, how do you get that unless like you just have all of your customer being advocates and you spread it through word of mouth, like how Facebook grew and all that stuff, because obviously the old parents didn't like want to join Facebook. It was the younger crowd that like slowly but surely convinced the older crowd to get into it. So how does SoFi do it? Well, one, they're doing these member events, and they're not doing them just like, hey, this is just a member event. There's a lot behind it. They have a lot of terms and services. They for some reason they have a ton of like terms and services and conditions regarding these member events, which is wild because it shows that they're actually putting some effort into it. My idea is that if you go to a college and you get a bunch of doctors at Stanford all using SoFi, and you have just member events hosted by SoFi just for Stanford doctors, and they all come and hang out and they work together, or not work together, but they just come and hang out. I really think people on the outside of that social circle are going to want to join SoFi just to hang out with those people. And this is, I'm just thinking outside of the box here, but I mean, like, what is the strategy behind SoFi creating these member events? It doesn't make profit. It doesn't make like monetary sense. So what could it be other than just getting more users?
Well, it could make monetary sense if, for example, there's cross-selling that's happening there, or I've never been to one, so I don't know what's happening.
I do know a few people that have been to a few events in New York City, and for the most part, it's just SoFi branded stuff, and you just hang out with people. You just don't like. There's not a lot of selling, but then again, this is the very, very early days of member events, so we don't know how it's going to look. But I feel like it's going to grow after they're a profitable company.
So I wanted to pivot a little bit,
but I don't know how much. Sorry, like I was just saying, like Meta Events is cool. I just don't know how big it is in the wider scheme of literally everything else that they're doing.
Mhm.
It seems like
It's not.
it's just like a marketing department initiative.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, everything kind of seems niche right now just because of how small SoFi is, and they're not really focused on anything other than that what makes them money. But whenever you start, like, they planted all these seeds, and from what I've seen, and the great deal of pain that they do to set up these member events, it reminds me of like Salesforce in the early days. Like, you can't how do you make customer management software sexy? And you can't unless you, and the way that they ended up just selling the software like fire is having these big events, and it did really, really well for them. And some of the Salesforce team is on the board of directors that made all those events happen. So I don't know what the strategy yet is. I just don't think it's just a marketing technique, though. I really think this might be something that, like, a strategic play that I think they're trying to do.
Okay, I wanna pivot to another topic. Rise, I was gonna read your super chat like 10 minutes ago, but then the Wi-Fi started being super weird. I think Steve, you'll have fun with this one. Did you guys see the interview that Elon Musk and the Babylon Bee did? Elon was super convicted that X or Twitter will be providing a full suite of financial services. Seems very similar to SoFi, good or bad. Steven, any thoughts on Twitter getting into the payments game, financial services game, or potentially the acquisition game when it comes to SoFi?
First of all, it's pronounced Reese. So
Reese. Sorry about that.
So I was trying to name tender stocks in the private chat. You said
I didn't even see that.
the whole
Yo, this man
Twitter-
never pays attention to the topic at hand, ever. It's like a child. Like you said, it's like a child. It's like...
So you're talking about the possibility of Twitter making some acquisitions again to the payment game.
Yes. Do you think they could buy SoFi, or what integration you think they could have into SoFi?
Could they buy SoFi? Yeah, Elon could sell shares of Tesla and buy SoFi. Is he going to? Who knows? But we know that he wants the X app to do everything. And in some cases, it's better to just acquire a good company that has everything built out rather than build it from scratch. Look what he did with Twitter. Instead of building a brand new platform, he just acquired the platform. So I have a theory about Rumble. It's my own personal theory after doing some research, after hearing something that Patrick Bet-David said, and I really started looking into it. And look, David Sachs was appointed to the board. He's arguably Elon's most trusted confidant, and part of PayPal Mafia with him and Peter Thiel. Conspiracy theory would be that he was sent in to clean it up, get it ready for Elon to take over, and just embed all of Rumble's technology into Twitter instead of building everything out on its own. Could he do it with payments? Yeah, he could. Is he going to?
Do you think Noto would want him to buy SoFi?
I think if the price is right, he's not going to say no. I mean, look, he has an obligation to do the best thing for the shareholders, to create shareholder value. If the price is correct, he would have to take it to the board and there would be a vote. It would all depend what that price is.
Yeah, I also think that, just to George's comment here, thinking about who Noto would sell to is interesting, because we know that SoFi is essentially, this company that he wants to associate with his reputation, his legacy, his ability to execute as a whole. Conversely, we also know that he's a really big Elon fan just from their Twitter interactions. He really supported the move and the fact that Twitter needed an exec shakeup. He was this chief operating officer at Twitter. I think that, Noto would be really hesitant to sell to a lot of these legacy players, because chances are that they will not share his vision for what SoFi could become, even if he gets a payout. And sure, maybe JP Morgan, but realistically, I think that he would be more likely to sell to a company that shares that vision for what that payments provider could be, which is what Elon has with the entire vision for X, right? And so I think there is a contrarian take to say that Noto would be less likely to sell to a legacy player, but more likely to sell to a technology company like Twitter is becoming.
And to expand on that, arguably, in my opinion, Elon would keep Noto in place to run it, whereas a legacy bank is less likely to keep Noto in place.
I really think Elon Musk has a bad taste in his mouth from all prior Twitter employees or management and exec, and I really don't think Elon Musk knows Noto on a personal basis. And I think his first assumption is going to be, yeah, you're the one that created all the problems at Twitter. Even though I think we all think he wasn't, but I don't think that
Noto left Twitter. When did he leave? 2018?
No, it was like 17, 16 era. He
Hard
was,
to say that Noto created all the problems that Twitter is having or had.
I'm sorry?
It's hard to say that Noto created all the problems or was involved with it, considering he wasn't there for so long. The Twitter problem started to come about during 2020.
Yeah, so he was the COO of Twitter during Trump's presidency. So he was kind of like famous for that for a moment, but he left right before it got all nasty and all the media started hitting Twitter regarding like the election and the Hunter Biden story. So a lot of the Twitter files don't even mention him because he left like right before.
Yeah, he wasn't there.
SoFi. But even still, I don't even think Elon Musk is even thinking about making the X app or the payments app just yet. I think he's way more focused on truthfulness and the upcoming election with all this AI stuff.
Yeah, but Riley, this is a guy that is in charge of boring companies, SpaceX, Tesla, and Twitter at the same time.
Mhm.
I mean, it's hard to say that he doesn't have his mind on other things. He's always had his mind on other things. And when you think about what he wanted PayPal to become and it never did, that's at the back of his brain and it's consistently been there.
Yeah, but he didn't pay $44 billion just to like start building the payments processing part. He hasn't even like done absolutely anything regarding like updating the app towards anything close to payments or anything like that. It's just been like making that algorithm better, more democratized and more useful as an app.
Didn't they just make partnership with eToro so you can do they can have the option to do trading?
To be able to see tickers. So if I type in $SoFi, I'll be able to see the price action, and then I'll have a button that goes to eToro. And every time I press that button, Elon Musk makes money. So it's more about profitability than actual like making the next generation app. And then also like SoFi has nothing approved yet. Like we really don't have a lot of tech under our belt yet. We're all at the beginning stage, building the bottom of the pyramid. Maybe in like 3 or 4 years, we'll have something like really, really cool to show that is differentiated. And then maybe Elon Musk sees that. And once he figures out he can't do it himself, he'll feel about maybe being a customer or purchasing as us. I don't know how it's going to look, but I just think we're way, way early stages here.
Yeah, I want to be clear. I don't think anybody is going to, or I don't want anybody to acquire SoFi because I think as a shareholder, the investment would be better as a long-term investor of SoFi, but I wouldn't be surprised if a company comes to try to acquire them in the next couple of years.
So this is the thing that like, I'm even seeing it in the chat right now. A bunch of people talking about PayPal possibly acquiring SoFi. It'll never happen. The problem is that SoFi is a bank. Acquiring banks is a whole other can of worms. You know what I mean? This is not like acquiring any other sort of payment processor or anything along these lines. If you have a bank charter, you have to completely change the way you do business. So, you know, you got to be careful with talking about who's going to acquire SoFi. Personally, I think the only person that would ever acquire SoFi is a larger bank. This is sharks eating smaller sharks. You know what I mean? This is not a... PayPal is global payments or Twitter. They're not going to touch this thing. They don't want anywhere near the OCC sniffing around what they're doing. That's not going to happen.
Noah says we have the tech now, and I don't think that we do. Do y'all disagree with me? Because like there hasn't been really any customers yet.
I think it depends on what your definition of the tech is.
Yeah, I think we have a long way to go. I think we have like good foundation. I think that's like every time we hear about our technology, like the concepts are provable, but like we don't have like anything really cool to sell yet. Because I mean, look at Galileo's advertisements. It's just like so dumb. They're just talking. They're just advertising their own employees, talking about like what banks should do, and they're not really.
Yeah, but okay. So I agree with you that Galileo might not be as forward as some of these larger players like a Goldman Sachs or a Citigroup or something like this. But now that you're on the cloud, it kind of allows for unlimited scalability. So which is quite nice. In terms of actual marketing, I wouldn't even look at like B2B sales as through their marketing programs. This is completely different because enterprise SaaS sales are you're talking directly with like C-suite executives. You're not going and advertising them and hope that someone finds your Twitter paid advertisement. So I think that they do that to go after smaller fintechs and these sorts of things. But I think a lot of the large banks and stuff like this that we're talking to is directly like account executives talking with C-suite executives on the other side who are looking for a platform.
Yeah. One thing I'll say real quick, just because.
And Tevis, please, because you're in this space, I'd love to know what you think about that and if I'm wrong, because you're in the software sales space a little bit.
I wasn't listening. I got all.
Well, I'll just shorten it. Do you think that whenever it comes to large enterprise software, that the marketing efforts means anything like what we're seeing on their Twitter pages or paid promotions, rather than just what their account executives are reaching out to large banks?
No, dude. There's a huge disconnect. Okay, so when you talk about B2B enterprise sales, especially like SaaS companies, there's a huge disconnect. Brand awareness is brand awareness, and that's great, but that's more on the B2C side. So like SoFi Stadium, all of their like advertising campaigns, their TikTok dances, all this stuff, those are to get members on the B2C side. For B2B side, you have people on their biz dev team calling companies all day long, building the connections. It all happens in bars, restaurants, in conferences, and in events. Like nobody, like the brand awareness is not even a play there. It's all personal relationships based on these salespeople.
The thing that I think, yeah, you're 100% right. Like, there's no way we can tell like by their advertisements. That's a good point. The one way that we can tell though is like the actual SoFi app, and the SoFi app is not there yet. And I think Amit can attest to this yet. We don't even have like call options yet or covered calls, and there's a lot of tech that's kind of just. I mean, we don't even have the ability to send money through Zelle yet. So I really think we're more at an infrastructure stage. I mean, like the first time we were fully on the cloud was on January 1st of this year. So, I mean, we've only been 6 months on the cloud. So I think that we're a little bit early here, and I think we're building products. It's just going to take a little bit of time to mature. And then we might be able to see some actual tech that they're talking about in these conferences.
Riley, did you sell?
Nope.
For some reason. Everyone's saying, no, I think it's a good critique. It's a really good critique of the tech stack we have right now and the problem.
He's just got a whole new monk mindset going. That's what's
So
happening.
Riley, I want to make sure I understand this correctly. When you're talking about tech, you're talking about internal product options in the app that you as a consumer can use.
Not necessarily. I mean, that's the only way that we can measure their tech because they don't talk about it. The tech is what Technisys has, which is building blocks that they can sell to companies so they can incrementally buy a cheap product from SoFi. But if they ever want to scale their business, they can do so pretty cheaply by buying more Lego blocks, software APIs that they can plug in and build their business from ground zero all the way up, no matter how many customers that they're looking at. So that plug and play optionality, I mean, you can't see that as a consumer, but you could see the effects of it under SoFi's hood, like the SoFi app. The SoFi app is not there yet. I think we have a long way to go in order to be like the coolest app in America. And I think we're very close.
I mean, he's right about that, right? Like,
No,
I know that you
I
don't.
get that. What I'm thinking of is when I hear tech, my mind is automatically going to the banking side, and Noto's saying that we are in talks with 12 financial institutions.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's
he didn't
talk,
see
though,
that
not
because he was meditating.
No,
That
I
is true.
just I mean, like we can't assume that we have anything until we actually see it, because like it is hard. It's like one of the hardest things to do business wise in America is transfer bank customers to another back end. Every person that I've ever talked to that's even competent in this area says it's just like astronomically difficult and also super expensive to do this. So like a lot of these people that have that are like 50, 60 don't want to take that risk and put their job on the line to make this huge financial decision for their entire company. So the hard part of selling this software is saying that we can do it safely and cheaply. And no, I think Noto said in one of his conferences that he can do that. You just slowly offload like 1% of your customers on our tech right beside your tech, and you don't have to abandon your tech. And you could slowly see how it works. And once the concept is proven, you could start moving over time. So even if we do land these big customers, it's going to take like, I don't know, a long time to get fully onto our system. So it's very interesting how we sell. It's not easy. It's a long, like,
Tanner, what are you laughing at?
Well, okay, so I agree with, honestly, Riley, you're spitting facts here, and I'm loving it. I love new Riley. But everyone in the chat is just saying, like, you're taking ayahuasca, you have proper form now, like your
And that
posture's great.
always
It's just
happens.
so funny.
Everybody loves me during the down market because I give them hope. But at the top market, like I say the same shit, but people would get nervous.
You don't say the same shit. You said before, you were like, I just want SoFi to eat all the banks because I hate banking. And now you're like, well, it's actually going to probably be harder. And I've been saying what you've been saying for a while is that saying something is one thing, seeing the customers come in is another. So I agree with you that you know what, we can't just be overly hopeful that one CEO is saying this is a magical product. Every single CEO in the world is going to say their product is the magical product. So I agree with you. But it's just funny that, you know, you used to just say I want them to eat
I
banking.
switched my position at all. I just think that I've been feeling a little a tons of optimism lately because there's just so much attention on SoFi and everybody says it's going to the moon.
This is a great thing that we should pivot to, though.
Sure.
Not to cut you off, but we don't have a lot of time.
Tavis, go ahead, take it away.
Okay, so somebody in our Discord this week posted this image along with another image around dark pool trades over the past couple of weeks. Dark pools are basically private exchanges where these huge institutions load up. It's not really open to the public. And here you can see the dates at the bottom, and starting on the 18th of May and all the way through the end of the month, you can see chunks of huge block trades or purchases over 10 million shares. So it seems like, and Tanner, I'd love your take on this too, but like it seems like a lot of institutional buyers are stepping in, and that could also explain, in large part, the 35% run up that we had this week. A lot of it was probably fueled by these big boys coming into the stock.
Yeah, sometimes we get caught in an ecosystem and people go, like I saw a comment recently on one of my videos going, okay, well, if everyone in this video or in the comments is buying or is already fully invested, then how is the stock going to go up? It's like, guys, we are not what pushes the stock as an investing community. Institutions push markets. That's what happened in Palantir, right? So if the SoFi itch happens, it's not because retail picked them up, it's because institutions picked them up. Okay. This is very exciting to see. And I think it'll only compound as you know, we get to profitability. Now that might not happen in first quarter. A bunch of people use Palantir as the example. They took 2 quarters of profitability before institutions actually poured in. Tesla took 4 quarters, a full year of profitability before that stock skyrocketed. So
I think there's two differences though.
ahead.
What was Tesla's market cap when it was, because
like 40 billion.
Yeah, so if SoFi's 5-6 billion and they get GAAP profitable, that might be one thing. If they actually get profitable from operations and not just like accounting gimmicks, that's another thing. That's why the first quarter for Palantir went to shit, because it wasn't real profitability. So I don't know, man. I think if we get profitable by Q3 or Q4 this year, given the market cap, and if it's from business operations and if it's from a whole business line that we added out of thin air, basically with student loans, this could run really quickly. It's just a question.
Yeah, there's a comment saying 33% institutional ownership isn't impressive. Okay, that's perfect though. Like, this is the same thing whenever Tesla was at that $40 billion market cap and people were talking about it in 2018, 2019. Like, the stock, I think at the time, was the most shorted stock, even above Apple, even though the market cap was 20 times or whatever at the time. Tesla was hated, but that doesn't mean that people that were investing were wrong. So if institutions don't like us at this price, that's great, because if the institutional ownership does rise to a more acceptable 50, 60, 70%, think about that, what that does to the stock. So yeah. I'd rather, like, institutions in the company or not, this will not be the first time that I've been in a company that institutions hated. Tesla, like I said, was one of them. So it's just a matter of we can keep doing our due diligence, and what I think is true is happening, then I'm going to keep buying, and they will change their minds. And I don't know what they're looking for in order to make that decision, but profitability is a big one.
Profitability is a huge one. As soon as they're profitable, they're going to start coming in, a lot more of them.
But it could be a year. It could be a year of profitability to make a PE ratio, and for different things to be hidden on certain screeners, and just for it to be popped
Tanner,
up.
Let me ask you a question. How likely is it after that SoFi with profitability and a year of profitability could be possible for the S&P 500 inclusion? Do you think a bank like them could get in that index?
Honestly, I'm not privy to the requirements right now. I'm sure if someone told me, I'd remember, but I don't even remember right now.
Steve, what do you think? Do you think they could ever join?
I think we should bring up the requirements.
I know it. You have to have a 12 billion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Market cap, 4 quarters of profitability, sequentially. The majority of shares have to be outstanding so that people can actually buy the stock.
There has to be a certain amount traded, average volume.
The volume, has to be at least 250,000 per day within the past 6 months, which SoFi will pass that easily.
I mean, if we know if we know the future of banking in the U.S. is going to be an all-in-one shop app, and that banks absolutely need a platform when the future gets really tough for these banks, especially these regional and traditional banks that are paying all this massive amount of money on locations. Once all that heats up, and if SoFi has a big enough net, there's no doubt. Like, the market.
Think about this. If you just look at SPY, financials make up 12.03%. Tech is the biggest sector, and it's 28.84%. Financials is actually the third largest sector in SPY. Healthcare is number 2 at 13.72%. So it's definitely a possibility in the future.
Amit, can you throw up Atil's comment? I'll read it out, but I think it's a really interesting point. Just the one before that one.
The one before that one. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, that one. So basically, he says, anyone read Peter Lynch? He said, find the company with small institutional holds. If you guys haven't read One Up on Wall Street, I think it's possibly my favorite book on investing ever. Because he basically is saying that in certain categories, you have an edge on Wall Street because you're essentially a consumer of that company, and you can see the change faster than, some guys on Wall Street can. The reason why Peter Lynch advocates to find stocks with small institutional holds is because a lot of these institutional, analysts, their job rides on, how well, they can pick these stocks. I mean, maybe not for the David Cavarinis of the day, but just on principle, if you don't do a great job, then like you're not a great analyst, and that is very transparent because it's very quantifiable. The idea is that as a result of this dynamic, not a lot of analysts will take risks on small companies. And so I think Peter Lynch in his book has this example of like IBM or like Coca-Cola or something like that. Like so let's just put it into modern terms. If you're an analyst and you pick Apple and Apple goes down 20%, everybody is going to say, well, Apple had a bad year. But if you're an analyst and you put your neck out and you pick a company like Sofi and Sofi goes down 20%, everybody's going to say that analyst had a bad pick. And so the idea around profitability and why these dark pool trades are kind of interesting and why, student loans and just putting this all into perspective, it adds a layer of safety for these analysts to be able to justify the stock without putting their neck out there, so that when they pick SoFi, they have something that they can point to. And the idea with small institutional holds is that you want to be front running these institutions as a retail investor. You invest today when it's 5 billion or 8 billion, so that once they get that layer of safety from an institutional perspective, institutions start respecting the name more, start feeling like, hey, it's not really risky for my career to be the one supporting SoFi at this stage. It's not like a coin toss. At that point, when institutions jump in, look at all the biggest names out there. They're predominantly institutionally held, right? They're 80% plus, 90% plus held by institutions. You can have an opportunity to front run that entire move up. So SoFi is, let's say, 30% held by institutions today. Maybe in 2026, 2027, it's going to be 80% held by institutions. That delta is really huge for you to be able to front run from an analyst perspective. So I think that that's a really important understanding, because it's something that ties everything together in terms of their profitability and in terms of where they're going and the opportunity that retail investors have right now.
I think that's a really great point.
Great point.
To expand on that, one, when companies such as SoFi hit that dynamic and they continuously grow and they hit different metrics, they start meeting requirements for different funds, maybe not just the S&P, but total market funds and other sector-specific funds that they can get added to, which can increase buying, and it will increase the number of institutions holding shares. So that's a pretty powerful dynamic that could play out in the next several years. The other thing, 80-90% of institution held is, to me, very high, considering Apple is 61.23%. And that's the largest component of the S&P 500. So I don't know that we're ever going to get that high, but maybe into the 40s or 50s at some point, I think could be realistic.
Sorry, say that again, that if it has high institutional, you compared it to Apple?
No, I'm just saying that 80% seems very high when Apple has 61.23%, according to Yahoo Finance, shares held by institutions.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one position.
Yeah, but with it being the largest component of the S&P 500, you would think that it's going to be pretty hard to get past what Apple is held by institutions for a smaller company.
It's also like the number one most recognized brand in the world. So I think a lot of retails are going to be like, look at banks.
Yeah, I think it's the second most.
Wells Fargo or something.
Yeah, it's probably the second most purchased retail position aside from Apple. Like I would look at like a new bank back whenever it was like $3 a share. I think it was 80%.
Tavis, you're right. Wells Fargo, 76%.
Look at this guy with a smart brain, eh?
I love this
Good
comment.
call.
Now that I'm making
Good
gains in
call.
SoFi, I like this podcast.
It's true. It's true. I'm seeing a couple similar names here that were trashing us on the way down. Now he's saying all nice comments, and I won't even play
that's
them.
awesome. This
Investing is a long-term game. Like if you're investing is not buying for 6 months. That's swing trading. That's not investing. Like I'm looking at investments 5-10 years, unless my thesis changes.
Wow, you should be a growth investor.
I mean, I got some growth companies in here. I got more than just Palantir and SoFi.
Let me ask a question. Do you guys so Buffett owns a lot of banks. Why doesn't he think about picking up a $5 billion growing bank?
Because he can't. Because he doesn't want to be a bank holding company. It would change all of his regulations. It would stop him from investing in certain investments. He would be regulated harder.
Wait, no, but doesn't he invest in Wells Fargo and Bank of America?
Okay, find all those banks, and then you tell me what the ownership percentage of those banks are, and I'll guarantee you they're under 10%.
Wait, institutions you're saying
He
own...
He owns Citibank, so I'll bring up Citigroup right now.
You can even find Nubank. Nubank is
like.
Go ahead.
No institutional
10% of SoFi is like.
So hold on. No
I was
institutional holder
go ahead.
owns more than 9% of Citigroup.
So they can, but they'll be regulated very differently. They'll be looked at a bank holding company.
Yeah, they have to file it differently.
Yeah. So
but to
Buffett
Tanner's
doesn't
point,
do that.
Like, if you think about that, it's 10% of this company is like 500 million. It's just that doesn't like make a dent in Berkshire Hathaway's holdings. It's just way too small. And even if he was going to own some banks, he would own the biggest banks because on an aggregate basis, he could get such a better, like he could buy more shares to fulfill that 10% threshold. Whereas for SoFi, it's like, $500 million worth of the company, Berkshire is however many, billions of dollars, it won't make a dent in his portfolio.
Now,
so Berkshire owns actually 13% of Bank of America.
Yes. So I was going to add to that as well. If you do a quick Google search, he asked for specific permission from the Federal Reserve if he could purchase that extra amount. So he got very specific permission to do that.
And he had a deal with them in 2008, right? With Bank of America.
And that's probably why, because he honestly is so large that he's part of the bank bailout system now. Like whenever the banks were going into crisis, they said, okay, I guess we got to call, little Warren Buffett.
Yeah, didn't he miss a meeting with Lehman?
Yeah.
Doing it?
Yep. I didn't know that today. I learned something new today. I did not know that institutions can't have more than 10% ownership in a bank.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing.
And now, like, even if you look at like his ownership in Nubank, right, which is not a big company. I think he owns like $400 million in Nubank. But Nubank is an exceptional offer. Like that's a very, very special company. It's part of his LATAM, what do you call it? Thesis, I guess. And
I will say you got me interested in Nubank. I will admit that live on the pod.
That's number 2, guys. PayPal, Nubank. It's been a week.
I will say it.
Okay, I'll get a third one. It might even be Block. Who knows?
So let's go there. Let's go there. The Twitter world wants you to bring the heat. Let's hear it.
Why don't you like Block, Steven?
Convince me, and I will buy shares on Monday.
Okay, so on our conversation, we had a podcast about SoFi, and then we did an exclusive one.
Read my tweet. Read my tweet.
We did an exclusive one talking about Block, and he said if there's anything more overvalued than Nvidia, it's Block Inc.
Nvidia is not overvalued, Steven. I have no idea what's wrong with it.
We don't have time for this.
And then not even to mention it, he also said he didn't know what Cash App was. So he's just valuing the company on nothing. Like
you did not know what Cash App was?
What the fuck's Cash App?
Oh my!
No,
you listen to all this rap music and you don't know what Cash App is. That
exactly.
Is that is insane.
Okay,
so
can I share my screen?
My tweet, and then convince me.
Now, to be fair to Steven, very smart individual, but he does exactly what value investors do, and he's looking at all the numbers.
Investors don't buy SoFi; they don't buy Palantir.
Okay, so you looked further into 2 different positions, but you need to look further into Square.
I have others. One of them Riley's in with also. But.
I saw this tweet from a very good Twitter account talking about fintech companies. The battle for mobile payments. This is Cash App at the top, my beloved PayPal and Venmo, kind of tying for second there, although both are PayPal's names. and then Zell's below that. This unbelievable chart, which by the way, it's getting better and better for Square, which means it's gaining an advantage at even a higher pace. This is unbelievable. I said into things.
Is mobile downloads like the metric though?
No. Not obvious, or not necessarily the only metric that I would value. But I do think that downloads, especially at that rate, does equal new customers, and it is a great indicator to show where is the future of banking going, or out of all the mobile payment apps, that's where people are going.
It's not really banking though; it's more just sending money, right?
I disagree. I think it's totally banking. They go after direct deposit. They go after everything. Steven asked me to go. Steven asked me on our podcast, who even uses Cash App? I said, most people. He said, cool. Please explain why I get excited about Square or Block generating $18.56 billion in revenue, trailing 12 months, producing $240.9 million in cash from operations, 79 in free cash flow, then lost $353.4 million. They've diluted shareholders from 138 million to 603 million shares outstanding, and increased stock-based compensation from 14.7 million to 1 billion over the past decade. Convince me tonight. He wants an answer tonight.
Tonight.
Right now.
Right now.
Okay.
Convince me, I'll buy.
Can you change the camera? Thank you. 1, I find it very hard whenever I'm talking about any growth company to look at trailing 12 months. I think that's a silly metric to look at a growth company. I'm not looking backwards. I'm looking forwards. Okay, that's value investor stuff to do. That's whenever your ship is sinking and you're going, okay, well, how much can we squeeze out of the rest of this grape? First of all, I want to talk about their dilution. A lot of their dilution happened because of a very aggressive acquisition strategy. So they've acquired a bunch of companies like Caviar, Tidal, Afterpay, a bunch of these different companies. Afterpay being very specific. A lot of people think it was a $29 billion acquisition. It was more like $11 billion because it was based on the price of the stock. And by the time it actually happened, it was around $11 billion. But still very, very expensive. Today, that's around 33% of Block's total market cap. The thing is that this latest quarter, they didn't actually achieve 40% compounded annual growth rates on their gross profits in their total company, okay? Because Square kind of fell behind. Cash App is still growing way above 40%. But they do expect going forward, like you said, Stephen, companies always, as they grow, it's harder and harder to keep up these high growth rates. Square thinks opposite. They actually want to improve their growth rates and keep a 40% growth in their gross profits over the long term. 40% compounded annual growth rates. So if you're not willing to spend a premium,
or does that include revenue also?
Sorry?
You said gross profit. Is that just gross profit, or does that include revenue also?
Well, I'm going to assume that the revenue is going to have to go up to continue to grow that over multiple years. But they were making a comment on gross profit. But their gross profit is kind of what they look at in the business. If you look at their company, they show revenue excluding Bitcoin, and then they look at gross profit. They are focusing for the first time in history right now on lowering stock-based compensation. So it is going to be going down, cutting expenses, and reducing the speed at which they're hiring. They're still expecting to grow their headcount, but they were growing at like 40% per year. Now they want to do about 10% per year. But you can see from the downloads, the crazy thing is that the young population right now is primarily using Cash App. That's what they want to use. And the thing is that a lot of these payment apps are not interoperable. So you need to be in the ecosystem in order to use them. So their referral base, you're not going to find a company other than Nubank, another stock that I hold, that finds a lower customer acquisition
We got him to
cost.
say one. We got him to say one. We didn't even ask.
It's not a top 5 for me, to be honest. I'll just sell it. My Nubank position is lower than my SoFi position.
We got him to say two.
But what's it called? That being said, you took me off my path. Oh, the customer acquisition strategy is insanely low. So you're talking about a company that, one, is in a very low margin business of peer-to-peer transactions and these sorts of things, that is starting to get into higher transaction-based things like payment cards and buy now, pay later. If this continues, they could get into all sorts of things, which they're already starting to collect direct deposit. By the way, I just want to say this. I said it on our exclusive, the podcast or whatever, but not here. Their savings account was their fastest ever growing product. Okay.
Tanner, so what do they actually make off those clients? Because like, man, we're talking about Cash App, like we're talking about teenagers fucking e-transferring each other $10 to go to the movies and then splitting a bill of like $40. Like, yeah, the customer acquisition cost is low because there's not a lot of money moving hands in Cash App relative to like Zelle, which is integrated with like all the major banks, right? So I think that, yeah, it's great that customer acquisition cost is low, but like, what are they actually getting from those customers on average? Because like it's these metrics that I don't know that are directly like, instead of downloads, look at transactions. Instead of customer acquisition cost, look at revenue per customer or something like that, and start valuing it more in line with competitors. Because at the end of the day, like that's what they're gonna need to make money, to make themselves competitive, right?
Yeah.
Can you bring back up the Cash App chart you had up, please?
The one that I had up.
This question, but just bring up the chart that you had up, please.
Sure. Just to state, I do look at Cash App like a bank. They don't actually have a bank charter, but they're renting a charter, similar to how PayPal would. And the greatest thing is that unlike a SoFi or some of these larger banks, that whenever you're going from country to country is extremely hard, Cash App can go from country to country with zero problems. All they need is regulatory approval from the governments and then a sponsoring bank in that government. That's how PayPal spread to 200 different countries. Cash App will have the exact same sort of trajectory.
Who are they hurting here? Are they hurting? They're not hurting SoFi's business. They're hurting like traditional and regional banks' business. Or who's the competition?
Well, I guess you say that they do compete with SoFi. The problem is that the total addressable market for traditional banks and going after those big guys is just so extremely large. Cash App, in a way, wants to make sure that they can get an account with an individual so young, and that it's a fun thing or a popular thing to do is get Cash App, and that they will offer you a product by the time they need a loan that they will already have you covered, which they do actually have personal loans as well. They're just extremely, extremely small. Their average personal loan, I think, is like $200 or something.
How much of Block's business is the Cash App?
The majority, like over yeah, I don't want to say 60, 55% probably.
So over half
by
of
what
metric?
metric?
Probably
gross profit.
Over half of their gross profit is driven by Cash App.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first time this quarter.
Okay. So it's fair to say the significant or respectable amount of revenue is driven by it also.
Yeah. So yes. I mean, I'm looking at gross profit. So that is the metric that they want us to look at, similar to SoFi using adjusted EBITDA or something along these lines. Square for the longest time was by far their biggest product. It's what started them. But since then, growth, I mean, it didn't taper off. I think they did this quarter, I'm going off memory, was something like 19%. Cash App's was like 49%. So Cash App is like, once you see this chart, it's still expected that extremely high growth. Square is actually expected to grow much faster than they did in this previous quarter. And partial amounts is the same reason that I like PayPal, is the cross-selling ability. When it which company gets payment hierarchy whenever you're using a Square company? Obviously Cash App. So it's building a full-on e-commerce and fintech ecosystem the same way Mercado Libre is doing.
Okay, so a couple questions. On a revenue standpoint, why is March 2021 their largest revenue quarter?
March of 2020, probably. So this is a thing. You can't look at the company that way. So you need to exclude Bitcoin.
No, it's just a question. How come they have not been able to beat their revenue in March of 2021?
I could probably guess that, and it's because of Bitcoin. because they have to buy Bitcoin for a millisecond and then sell it. You can't look at their revenue without excluding Bitcoin, because what you're taking in is the price of Bitcoin and at which they acquired it. So the revenue is actually not a metric that any investor should use. It should be revenue excluding Bitcoin.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not actually showing how they're doing their business. If you look at the revenue, you think like 40% of their business is Bitcoin, when in reality it's probably 5 to 10%, or even less than 10%. There's not even a chance it's 10%. So,
Are you convinced?
oh wait, let me just say one more thing, and then I'll leave it, because obviously I've lost the interest of the panelists. The peg ratio. This will hopefully catch Tevis or Amit or some people that like.
You like getting pegged?
You're great at those. You're great at these jokes. Okay. The price to earnings growth ratio. Okay. Which, like, it's what it is. It's a 5-year expected price on the stock. So it's including growth, and that's just what they're expecting, is 1.2 times. That's extremely low.
Yeah, I mean the average isn't
Extremely
the average like 3 point something for most big tech companies like Apple, etc.
I don't know. I can find Apple's right now.
I feel like it's in the threes. 1.2 is definitely lower than the average.
But this is a growth company. If you go,
Correct.
Yeah, so Apple's is 2.85.
Okay,
Square's is 1.2. This is a growth play. If you don't like Tesla, you're not going to like Square because you're valuing them completely different. Like, I'm valuing it for the future. I don't even look at the trailing 12 months for Square. You can't look at it backwards.
Yeah, but if you're going to use Tesla and Square in the same, or Block in the same sense, I think Tesla's got a lot better chance of capturing much more of the market than Block does.
Why?
Competition. And when you think about what Ford just did with their charging network, that's a huge win for Tesla. Everybody's chalking it up to a huge win for Ford. That's a huge win for Tesla. And you could have other car companies using it, and then Tesla
This
just
is hard
generating
to
additional revenue from it.
There are other EV companies. Okay. The thing is that there's a massive total addressable market for taking away the traditional players that are not changing fast enough. I do not look at Square and Tesla at a very different rate. The traditional banks and ICE vehicles are not adapting fast enough. I completely look at them in similar respects. The new audience, the young generation, is going after these payment apps. Cash App's the number one pick. It's the number one. If you go to the finance section of your iOS right now, it is the number one on the top of the charts. It's been there for years.
I just bought a brand new one, actually.
What?
I just bought a brand new ICE vehicle.
That's good.
There you
You're
go.
a value investor. I know you would.
That's the perfect case study, man. Like, so this is the thing. It's like the thing that I love. One thing that I love about SoFi is that they have high income earners and people with great credit scores, and they're in the younger demographic. When those people move up 10 years, let's say, we're talking about really big dollars. But when we're talking about the Cash Apps, maybe I'm biased, this is my perception, but I don't think that there's a lot of money there right now, because they're not really limiting Cash App to people who have high FICO scores or people who have high income. Like Steven just said it, like, we can sit here and talk all day long about disruption and innovation, and realistically, where the money is, like these individuals that are like the baby boomers, let's say, they're still going to go with the legacy players. You know, they have such a high hesitancy.
Yeah, I mean, Tanner, I could have went out and bought a Tesla. I went out and bought a brand new Audi. Like,
Steve, you're the guy who told me the statistic that said, one, all this stuff about the largest wealth transfer in history is going to Gen Zers, okay? That millennials and Gen Zs are going to be the highest earners by 2030 or something like this. These are all your statistics. And yet you can't see the idea that Square, not having an audience of big earners right now, will have large earners into the future.
Yeah, but here's the problem. It looks like, and I'm going on a quarterly basis. I'm not going on a annual basis. On a quarterly basis, going back to September 2020, they've only had 2 quarters where they broke 400 million in cash from operations generated, September quarter 2020 and September quarter 2021. And it seems like that's when crypto may have been at spikes from basically what you're saying. So if crypto
That's a
isn't
good
spiking-
point.
So if crypto isn't spiking, show me a use case of how this company is generating cash.
That's a
Cash
good
in versus
point.
Cash out.
I'm not looking for them to generate cash right now. I mean,
Well, and that's a problem. This company's not a brand new company. This company's been around for more than a decade.
no, but Cash App is brand new. So the entire
Okay,
company
Cash
for the
App's brand new. June 2022 quarter, 3 quarters ago, they lost 114 million cash. Like they lost cash from operations.
they're a growing business.
So
You know what I mean?
Palantir's a growing business. They're not losing cash from operations.
I know, but whenever it comes to a massive shift in consumer, what do you call it? Consumer
but that's
activity.
The thing.
What do you call
They're
that?
playing in a space that has so much competition. So
Yeah,
much competition.
and they're the number one player.
Hold on, real quick.
Number
think
one
Tanner-
player generating 294 million in cash from operations.
I will use
45 million
Riley's
the quarter before that, 15 million the quarter before that.
I will use Riley's quote. A person stays with their bank for 14 years. Okay. It's about customer acquisition. They've got the lowest.
But who looks at them as a bank? Like seriously, who looks at them as a bank?
So like I was saying, Cash App's savings account was their fastest ever product. Okay. Fastest ever growing product. Guess what the APY on that product is? 0%. Okay. Their profitability. Sorry.
I'm sorry. While you guys were talking, I signed up for a Cash App bank account pretty quickly. And I somewhat agree with Tanner. I really do think Cash App has a lot to offer. And it's
you can buy your stocks.
Yeah, you could buy stocks and you could do a lot of stuff.
Well, okay. Why is
hold on,
anybody buying?
Let me just finish my thought here. The convenience Cash App is going to grow from convenience, just like Tanner said. Nobody cares about the APY because it's convenient. Here's the problem with the unlimited growth runway that PayPal or Cash App would have is the biggest problem that regulators have in America is that they want to incentivize competition foremost before anything else, because there's so much money in these big traditional banks that are locked up, and the consumer isn't winning. So if Cash App were in the next 5 to 10 years just to completely decimate, and all these traditional banks are going to be suffering, there's going to be a massive shift to get these old banks in competition mode and try to compete with the innovators like Cash App. And who's going to be there with all this proprietary tech? It's going to be SoFi. This is like literally their strategy. Everything that you've said that has been good about Cash App is literally the bull case for SoFi, because it makes it way more scary for traditional and regional banks. They're only going to see a down chart as their older clients start dying off. So there's no way that Cash App can be king forever, just because regulations are they're going to kill them. If
regulations are going to kill Cash App?
I'm sorry?
Regulations are going to kill Cash App?
I mean, if it becomes monopolized, yeah, if it becomes like the biggest bank in America, for sure.
Yeah, but they're not a bank. So PayPal has 435 million users. Where's the killing of renting a charter? What they're doing is not new.
I'm just saying, if people log into Cash App and they check their bank account, and that all that money in those bank accounts make up the most money out of any other bank, like more than JP Morgan at some point in the future, just the way that they're growing and just how the whole shift in tech is moving, it looks like Cash App is growing faster than anybody else.
So why would anybody use Cash App as a bank versus either a traditional bank or SoFi, when banking is just one aspect? When you're with a bank, you want a bank that you can go to for home loans, private loans, for the safety deposit box, CDs, investment accounts.
Do you think? Okay, so this is the thing. You don't even know the audience. Their audiences are not buying CDs. Okay,
and loans.
they have 0% APY in their savings account. They're not looking for guaranteed deposit vehicles. Okay,
How are they going to generate cash from operations if they don't have other products?
Okay, I'll tell you an example. Whenever Venmo was first coming out, okay, well, not first coming out. This happened quite recently, but they had a customer lifetime value of $10 per user. That's the year that they put out Venmo's crypto. They went from a customer lifetime value, which was only used by like 20% of the user base, went from $10 to $35. Okay, that's a more than triple off of a single product launch that simply is not that big. Okay. This is the thing about starting small with low margin business. Finance is a massive margin business. They haven't even gotten really into lending. They purchased the second largest buy now pay later product or buy now pay later company that works for both Square and Cash App. Yes, buy now pay later is not our forte.
So I have a question.
We got 3 minutes left on this debate, boys. Let's go ahead, Steven.
Is that even a thing? Like, is it big?
What?
Buy now, pay later. I have no idea about that space.
So here's the thing. Buy now, pay later is not big for you. Buy now, pay later is huge for the young generation. Okay.
I need to look into that.
Of course. That's how companies like Affirm and Afterpay even got their name. They took around a 2% market share of lending. Like, that's not huge.
I use it all the time.
It's pretty big though. So,
Steven, are you going to buy Square?
No.
Okay, there we go. That's the conclusion.
So here's the thing though. Yes, right now their current business is not going after high margin products. But as they scale, as the age of their people get older and they actually start looking for mortgages, yes, of course, Cash App will pivot to offer those products.
So Amit, this is what I'll tell you. I would rather add to my wife's shares of Tesla over $200 than buy Block.
Yeah, but I don't see Block giving a mortgage to anyone, Tanner. I don't know where you think.
Dude, that's such a ridiculous statement.
You think Block's giving out mortgages in the future, bro? You think that's what's
do I think that they'll be doing student loans, personal? Yes, I absolutely.
And how long do you think that's going to take to materialize?
It could take 10 years.
So why the fuck would anyone buy this stock? What the fuck?
Because I do believe before that happens, they'll have 100 million users at a $10 to $20 customer acquisition cost. I do think that if you can see a payment processor like PayPal, okay, if you can see a payment processor like PayPal and value them accordingly, and then say, oh, by the way, we're also doing direct deposit and all of these different things, plus also an e-commerce side on the other side. Okay.
Bro, but the opportunity cost of your Square shares for 10 years for that to happen versus SoFi.
SoFi is such a better
silly.
I don't get the thesis, Tanner. You haven't convinced me yet.
I don't need mortgages to be out today for the stock to be valued into the future. Stop.
So answer me this. Why would somebody want to go with Block and have a Cash App instead of going with SoFi and having the whole ecosystem?
Because they don't know that SoFi exists. Okay? Whenever people are looking for a new app, they go on to iOS. Either they hear it from their friends or they go on the iOS and they go to finance.
You don't think that SoFi is going to grow to the point where people know what SoFi is?
There are 330 million people in the States. You guys are placing me like if I say one person is going to do something, then the rest of the competitors can't do anything. There are massive growths in PayPal, SoFi, Venmo, and Cash App. There's so much room to grow because the audience we're taking is all from traditional banks.
Anyway, we can all agree on SoFi. This warrants another discussion. We got to bring this back up next week.
Well, look, the problem is
I can never.
Tavis, go ahead.
I was just going to say I can never get those 30 minutes of my life back.
No, you can't. But
what is wrong with that? What is wrong with that?
No, it was a good debate. It was a good discussion. It wasn't a
has
bad
grown
discussion.
so much. Like, why is stock-based compensation over $1 billion? Why is it growing?
Because Palantir is less stock-based compensation than Square.
They had one of the largest acquisitions last year.
Wait. SBC is growing year over year?
Year over year for a decade.
What the? I'm a Palantir shareholder. I'm not used to SBC growing year over year. I'm used to declining SBC.
So
I can't invest.
Here are the numbers. From 2013, it was 14.7 million. 14, it was 36.1. 15, it was 82.3. 16, 138.8. 17, 155.8. 18, 217.8. 2019, 297.9. 2020, 397.8. 2021,
Okay, stop.
they
This
must
is
have done a
boring. This is
good
boring.
job.
I can't
Tanner,
visualize it.
so what? So
608
how are you
million.
buying this
And in
stock, bro?
2022, executives must have done a really good job because stock-based compensation was $1,071,000,000.
They're not even hiring fancy
300,000.
engineers. Like, at least Palantir
mean-
hire smart people. Who the fuck are they giving all this SBC to?
It's crazy.
It honestly, I feel blown away that you guys can't see it. Like
SBC. Wait. So how do you answer that? SBC going up to $1 billion. What's your response to that?
they are
How is that a good
acquiring
thing?
like crazy. They're doing stock-based purchases of some of the largest acquisitions of
Acquiring
2021.
has nothing to do with SBC. That has to do with dilution and issuing shares to raise capital to make the purchases.
Sorry, you're saying just
I'm
stock-based
saying just
compensation
stock-based
to employees?
compensation. I'm not talking about shareholder dilution. I'm talking stock-based compensation. It can be found on the cash flow statement.
Well, I'll
Line
have to look
item.
into that. Sorry, I thought you were talking about outstanding shares.
No, stock-based compensation in freaking SBC.
They did say they were going to lower it. They did say they were going to lower it. And the thing that I care about
It's up
most,
to $1 billion.
It's over
Bro,
$1
like
billion.
they're not even Michael Jackson, and it's a Billy, no Gene. Like, what the fuck?
okay,
is
okay,
going on right
listen, listen. Here's the problem with whenever
read through the financials, read through the cash flow statement. How do you not read through this before you invest in something?
dude,
Damn.
I am. That is such a
Damn.
ridiculous statement to say that looking back at what's happened in the last couple of years makes up this stock. Okay, even if they are a low margin business, you're buying at low margin multiples. So if it's going to improve, I disagree with all your comments. Okay, if you're
I
buying
just
a
don't
low
get how you
margin business,
hold on. I'm confused how you think they're giving out mortgages. I'm like, when the fuck am I got my mortgage from Cash App? Who the fuck is ever gonna say that?
bro, it's gonna be 10 years from now, whenever the actual audience is in their 20s. Right
Hold
now,
on, what's
it's
gonna
like in their
happen? What's gonna
teens.
happen? What's gonna happen is 10 years from now, their stock-based compensation will be $20 billion, and then then the mortgages.
Unmute.
muted.
Unmute. Yeah, the host is muting me here. He's an oppressor. Okay. Palantir can wait. Okay. Listen, if you're buying low margin, that's the price you're getting. The PEG ratio is still 1.2. So
Stop
what you're
saying you like
telling
getting
me,
pegged, bro. What are you saying?
what you're telling me is that you guys think that there's going to be margin compression on this stock. Let's not even talk multiples. Let's talk buy now, pay later, or equity purchases, or crypto, or any of these other high margin products that can actually happen on this thing. Yes,
Well, I mean,
Steven will not buy.
are seeing margin compression.
What?
Technically, we are seeing margin compression considering gross profit margin was 40% in 2019.
But
And
that's
now
because you don't
it's
know the
34.
business.
Tanner,
You don't
can
know
I
the
tell you what I
business.
don't
Just
like about-
saying.
Because
tell you
it
what I
went
don't
from
like
being
about
a Square company to a Cash App company.
They need to be
I'm
a
buying-
fucking triangle company and get their shit in order or something. Like, this is ridiculous, bro.
Before,
This is
before we
insane.
go, can I just tell Tanner what I don't like about it?
Yeah. Luke
You have
said
1 minute.
Tanner is the minority,
All right.
and he's right.
Less
Thank
than
you.
60 seconds.
Unless, hey, hell, we can
I
do this.
don't
Hold
like
on.
companies.
I can leave and you guys can keep this going if you want. You want to do that?
No, I don't think you can. You'll have to end it.
No, I'll keep it on my second screen. As soon as you guys are done, I'll just press end.
Okay.
Yeah, but how are
we
you
can
going
do
to
it.
host two different things on StreamYard?
No, I have a different computer.
He's a tech guru. He'll be all right.
All right, so I'm leaving. Keep this going. This is actually good. Keep it going, and I'll keep an eye on it. I'll end it as soon as it's done. If it's not,
I
it'll just
burnt
be a
all
black
my
screen.
energy.
It'll just be a
Burn
black
all
screen.
your energy.
All right,
If you're watching
have
on
fun.
this channel, just
Counter
shut up.
weekly starts, but keep this going because this is fun. Go ahead, Ryan.
Okay.
Bye.
It's gonna end.
Here. Yeah, I don't know what else. Like I literally just burnt red hot all the way to what I thought was the end, and then he's going, "Okay, go again."
All right.
Um,
So I agree with you. I think Cash App is going to be an amazing gateway, especially to serve
I'm all
products
sweaty.
to customers in the future. I just have a big problem with companies that rely on convenience and are riding a wave of like a shift of like where an entire industry is going. Because SoFi isn't necessarily doing that. If they were doing that, they wouldn't be focused on like just purely back end stuff. I mean, like SoFi has a bigger net because they're going to be capturing more money than Cash App in the long run, right? Because they're worried about changing the market instead of competing in it.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I think is so weird about stock investing, where people talk about like general dollars. No one buys the stock based on how many dollars they're making. You base it on how many dollars as a percentage they're going to change. Okay, so like, for example, what I'm talking about is like, if you're owning a percentage of the stock, that's what you should talk about percentage base, not dollar base. Because if you buy Apple, $100 million sounds like nothing, but if you talk about I don't know, Marqeta, $100 million is huge. So talk percentage changes. That's how growth stocks should be looked at, probably the high majority of the time. Where I think is really exciting is, yes, SoFi will be earning much more, like way more dollars per person, 100%. But where do you go from there versus where Square could go from there? Getting in, like, hasn't even gotten into student loans or unsecured loans, a larger percentage of buy now, pay later, equity position, like buying stocks and these sorts of things. You, Stephen, might not, but you also probably wouldn't have seen 20 million users going to Robinhood because you use Thinkorswim.
Dude,
People don't even know what that is.
Robinhood one bit.
Sorry?
I don't understand Robinhood one bit. Why would anybody want to use Robinhood when you can use Schwab, you can use TD Ameritrade?
Because they've never heard of those. Because they've never heard of those.
Never made sense, except for the crypto aspect. But at that point, just use Coinbase. Like, Robinhood just doesn't make sense.
But we've spoken about that on our conversation as well. Doesn't make sense does not mean isn't like let's talk about what actually happened versus what makes sense.
They're a real company. They do real revenue. Like, yes, 100%. I just don't understand why people care about confetti.
Not only is Cash App the highest downloaded app for finance, but it's actually growing. If I bring that chart back up, which actually we'll have a hard time presenting because Amit needs to.
So do you think I really like focusing on broad?
I only use Robinhood for options. Okay, well, what if Cash App offers options?
So use a real platform.
It doesn't matter. It's what if people are there and they have their stocks, their direct deposit, their cash save, everything like that, they will use the apps that they know to do those platforms, and they don't look elsewhere.
Do you think Cash App will be an all-in-one app in the future, like 10 years? Where do you think they're heading? Because you said mortgages is going to be like 10 years. What other products, what is the app going to look like in 10 years? Because we all theorize what SoFi is going to be. It's going to be like everything under the sun, all in one place. There's no reason to download another app. There's never been a better time for fintechs. Okay. Years and years ago, before companies like thesis and these sorts of companies were out there and allowed for like what even Twitter's trying to go for, an all-in-one super app. Now is the time where where the software and these sorts of things are actually able to do this, and the consumer is getting very used to it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's of course they're going to be offering all these things. Of course they could offer travel products like SoFi. You see it whenever Robinhood would come out with a product or SoFi would come out with a product. Whoever came out with it first doesn't mean that they're the market owners. It just means that all the new companies just copy them. You know what I mean? Robinhood creates this new product, after hours trading or something like this. Then Fidelity does it. Then SoFi does it. So I 100% think not only will Cash App be an all-in-one platform, so will Venmo, so will PayPal, so will SoFi. They all will. It's just who's going to rush to take market share today. And Cash App is the most successful at doing so. Now, they're the most successful in terms of new growth. They're the fastest growing. They don't actually have the largest market. PayPal and Venmo by far are like, Venmo is the number one, but they're losing that share. Not like they are going up in users, but they're not growing as fast as Cash App. I think you're right. I think Cash App, the app, the way it's built, is better than 99% of what other people offer. Albeit, like, Wells Fargo and some of these big banks do have more of a varied offer, but when it comes down to convenience, Cash App is really good, and I think that is going to be what people are going to want to build in the future. So if we're talking about like banking apps, I think Cash App and a SoFi could be like the the iPhone of banks. And pretty soon in the future, all these banks are either going to, one, join that and all have apps that are similar, or banks are going to start closing down.
So I do think that banks are going to pivot their business model. Just personally, I do think that being they have a position to play, and that's being a sponsoring bank.
Mhm.
Okay, so layoffs are already happening. You already see these banks sizing down. I just think it's going to happen to a greater degree. Yahoo is still a company. Are they the company they once were? Were they when they were on top of everything? No. Like, but do I think that there's still a need for safety deposit boxes and a sponsoring bank? Yes, I do think some
Damn
larger
right there
players.
is.
Sorry.
Damn right there's a need for safety deposit boxes.
I know. That's where you're going to store all your cards.
That's where I
But
do store my cards.
so I just think, like, just because people think that what's happening today, oh well, JP Morgan's not going away. Well, says who? Says who? The consumer gets to choose, and they're choosing Cash App. You know what I mean?
Please do not insinuate JP Morgan is going to go away.
I'm not saying anytime soon, but I think it's starting with really like union banks and regional banks where
competition for JP Morgan is going to be a lot hotter than it's ever been in its history. That's for sure.
Deposits are already going down.
Here's the thing though. These big banks, most of their money isn't consumer facing people. It's way bigger, like institutions,
businesses, payroll, institutional investors.
So even if
there's
Cash
a
App
line.
were to just dominate consumer, like there's going to be a whole market for businesses. And I think from like correct me if I'm wrong, but like SoFi's idea of building from the very bottom, restructure all the infrastructure tech for these banks, so it's very easy to jump on and run your business very cheaply. That's going to be when all these banks start feeling the heat. They're going to see the value in SoFi's product. Like that's
and that's always been the argument with the regionals and the thrift banks and even some of the large banking institutions, because their systems are archaic and they were built in the 70s and 80s on legacy code with Band-Aid and Band-Aid patches, and they're not really built for banking in the year 2023, and they're going to have to adapt to cloud-based platforms. But when we start talking about Cash App and Block and all this stuff, I'm still having a hard time seeing why. And obviously the charts does not lie. Cash App has a huge following. There's a lot of people using it, but it's hard for me to wrap my brain around why somebody would want to use Cash App when they could use SoFi's product or a different product that has a lot more to offer.
Because whenever they go to look for a finance app, SoFi is 50th on the list. You ever hear that joke of like who knows what's on the third page of Google? Like no one knows. It's the top rank gets all the searches.
This is why I've from what I've said in the past, I really, really am looking forward to when SoFi redoes their app. It makes it actually slick and user friendly. Because right now there's a lot of stuff with the app that is like intuitive and it's not user friendly. They have a bunch of stuff, but it's just clunky. Man, as soon as this happens, whenever we see like a UI like change, it makes it amazing. Like there's nothing stopping SoFi because they do have on par Cash App products, but they have more, and also they're vertically integrated, so they make more money off of them. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, do you think Cash App is too far ahead for people to change? Because I'm downloading the app and I like it, but it wouldn't stop me from downloading another fintech app, which is what I think SoFi excels at.
Well, so no, I don't. So, and this is the problem with whenever we call this the SoFi Weekly Podcast or something along these lines, is that every time that I bring up something like a Cash App, people are comparing it to SoFi. I'm not comparing it to SoFi. I think it's a winner take most, not a winner take all. There'll be a lot of winners here because I'm just a big believer that branch banking is not where it is. That's like, if things can be better, if customers can choose a better service, they will, and that will eventually win. Like just
So
down to that.
I will agree with that because I have walked into a very large branch of one of the banking institutions that I use several times over the past 2 months, and there's basically nobody inside. I had to go inside to do things, not just use the ATMs at the front, and two customers inside. I'm talking large banking institutions in Midtown.
Right. No, and I mean, even if those users start to use a JPM app or a Bank of America or something along these lines, and then they actually get used to banking on their phone, I think that they'll really start to actually go, oh my God, this is great. I get used to this. What are the alternatives? And where I think that the winners will actually be is not going to be based on who has a bank charter. However, I do think that is a massive advantage where SoFi will have the best of both worlds, the amazing UX UI, and then also the bank charter, where I think Cash App really benefits from being the best developers. That's where the engineer team is. This is Jack Dorsey, not a finance guy, taking his tech platform experience and going after banking. That's a dangerous set of skills. And especially if anyone knows anything about Jack Dorsey, he knows what cool is. And I know that that's something that like investors don't like to look at, but that's why Tesla is where it is. That's where why a lot of positions are where they are. Okay.
Yeah.
You need to know what cool is. It's what makes, a bunch of positions like, I want to name a bunch of names, but
you can't give away your investments.
Sure.
Was I at least correct in the chat about what you own?
No. In terms of my top 5, you got a couple.
I know,
right?
but
I don't want to go. I said no. I'm not giving you any more.
We said 5 holdings that you own. We never said top 5.
No. Yes. Are you naming out of my 40 or 30 something positions that yes, you can name companies that I've covered on this channel? Yes, but are those my top 5? No.
Oh, we never said top 5. You want me to go top 5? I'm pretty sure I can name at least 2 or 3.
Okay.
So hold on. One of those is definitely your top 5, though, that I put. There's no way that you can say it isn't.
2 of them are very, very, 2 of them are, but I don't want to even say that because then you're going to say something. Don't say it.
Nobody can see that. It's in the private chat.
Okay, but don't say it.
I know your cards.
Okay.
Dude, I grew up in a caddy yard playing gin rummy at freaking 14 years old.
All I wanted to say is that Cash App is extremely cool. Okay.
Yeah.
It's one, and that's hard to replicate.
Yeah.
PayPal absolutely is the opposite of that. PayPal's not cool. There's no single young person that's using PayPal. And you could say that it's low margin today, but you're buying it off of multiples that are also low margin. And I think margins will even improve.
Oh, they better improve if they're going to do everything you're saying they're going to do.
But they were a peer-to-peer transaction. I'm going to try to find a picture for you because it explains it very well. But like a couple of years ago, they were a peer-to-peer transaction app, and then they just blossomed into like 20 plus different products. That was like over a couple of years. As this continues, they're going to be like SoFi, just pouring out new product. And because their customers are so sticky and have the direct deposits and have all these things, very, very fast growing.
What happens, hypothetically, let's just say Ripple loses the SEC lawsuit and the crypto industry goes downhill quick. And if Bitcoin is not going to be impacted, most likely from what I'm reading, it will have minimal impact. Like this court case.
So you know the answer.
Impact. But
so
what does it do to the crypto industry? And does that have an impact on sentiment for Bitcoin? Or does it have the inverse and make Bitcoin the one ring that rules them all?
That I'm not even going to speculate on. It could, like, I'd flip a coin on one or the other. But I do think that knowing this, it kind of does push the crypto people into just investing in Bitcoin. Whether they stay crypto people, though, I don't know. But like I said during our call, Block only deals in Bitcoin. They're Bitcoin maximalists. So whenever you look at their other companies like Spiral and TBD, they only do Bitcoin. So, yeah.
Riley, are you investing? Did Tanner make the case for you?
No, I'm a bad investor when it comes to focusing on. I'm very big picture, and I also take account for things that would want to make me sell. For SoFi, their main mission is to help people get their money right, which I believe is a very, very like altruistic goal. And I also just believe
You know what you and I are going to have to talk about at some point? Open Door.
Yeah. What about it?
No, I hold it as an ultra spec play.
It's very speculative.
Very spec. I hold it as a super spec
Nice.
play, as if I went to the casino and played craps for a night.
Yeah. The former CEO just sold like 4 million worth of his shares. So Open Door has been slowly like eating at me for a long time. Just like they're not operating the way I thought it would be. Their ideas and the way that they want to go about
Super interesting premise.
Premise is very, very awesome.
Super
I
interesting.
actually do want to help other people, which makes it easy for me to invest because I really feel like it's like a company that people would love if they understood.
So we should do something and talk about that at some point. So Tanner, you got your chart?
Sorry, what?
You got your graphic you want to bring up?
Yeah, but I realized I don't think I'll be able to share it unless Amit sees.
Can you put it in just send a link in the private chat. I'll bring it up on my screen so I can look at it at least.
Okay, but yeah, there's an audience as well, so I'm trying to accommodate. All I can say, and maybe Amit catches this, or maybe someone will send a message to him. I was just looking at their investor presentation. This was from last year. Okay, I misspoke. They were the number one finance app in the App Store for 6 years now. Not a couple of years, 6 straight years.
Okay.
In 2021, they were the 8th most downloaded app just in general, aside from TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, the 8th most downloaded app in general. Okay. This is what cool is. Customer acquisition cost around $10. Their average revenue per active customer has 6x'd over the last 3 years. 6x.
Okay, that's an interesting number.
Since 2016, whenever they originally opened business accounts, they were doing $5 in gross profit annually per customer. Today, it's 47. Okay, that's roughly about half of SoFi's. Half. So they're not even like this is what I mean. It's actually not as low margin as what people are saying. They went from being peer-to-peer to now doing direct deposit, Bitcoin, borrowing, taxes, paper checks, instant deposits, ATMs, stocks, Cash App card, whole bunch of different things that all bring in revenue.
I think the stat that I said earlier in this live, where people normally stay with their banks on average 14 years, is going to decline every year from now on. There is a point. I think Cash App is great, like the first beginning financial user. When you want to send money, move money, save money, it's not a good place, but like you don't know that when you're naive and young.
Riley, you got to remember something. When you get embedded with a banking institution, regardless of what banking institution it is, and you have all your automatic payments, you have all your bills tied to it, it becomes a nuisance to change, and something that for a lot of people is not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you get very embedded. When you get older and you have everything tied to an institution, it is, I mean, look, I would love to move all my stuff to SoFi.
Yeah.
100% I would love it. My wife is the boss. She does all the banking.
Yeah.
And, She has everything
And,
systematically
and
done.
banking
And
is a chore. It's hard.
yeah,
Like not only that, like who the hell wants bank statements? It's like it's good to put in a file somewhere, but it doesn't help you like understand like what you've done, where you've been, what your trajectory is, like where you're going forward. Uh, that's the one criminal thing I think about the banking industry is that it's a place to store money, but like there's been no technology developed in the
yeah,
past
the innovation's
year.
been completely lacking, and that's what's so interesting about SoFi.
It's like Mint, YNAB, and a few others are the only financial tools, like budgeting software tools, but they're not even banked, like they're not even baked into the banking apps, which is insane to me. Like, if you want to actually help people, you would help them like manage their money, but instead, no bank in America has been able to do this. And what is absolutely insane to me is in the past 10 years, there's absolutely been no development in banking app technology for any of the traditional banks. Like people often say, like if you go to any of the app on the app store, like if you go to Wells Fargo, Charles Schwab, all these banks, and you look at all their features, all of these features have existed for 15 plus years. Like being able to take a picture of your check and then be able to deposit it, that came out in like 1995. People could do that remotely from their computers. None of this is new. Like there's been no development. And I think you're right. Like it's such a chore to do banking. The older you get with subscriptions
Yeah,
and all of
and
these.
think about this, Riley. Think about this. You're 10 years in the future. You're married. You and your wife have both your direct deposits set up with your banking institution. You have your mortgage or your rent or whatever it is coming directly out, and all your bills. For you to change, you now have to go to two separate payroll departments at both of your jobs. Give them the new banking information. You have to give them all the new stuff. You then have to set everything up with a new company, redo everything.
Dude,
And
Riley
income-
set up an account while we were doing the podcast.
Setting up an account and setting up an account are two different things. Anybody can open an account and freaking give them your social and open an account. It's a lot different to go to your payroll department, move your direct deposit over, and then start doing your payments, canceling everything from one institution and rolling it over into another. It's two completely different things. I can open an account with 10 different banks. Funding
Yeah, well,
it and doing everything's much different.
That's why I think things like direct deposit switch, which is what Galileo's doing, and other products that other companies are doing, are going to make the time to switch banks much lower than the average of 14 years. I think that'll drop just because technology is coming in and they're realizing that's the largest pain point. And whenever technology sees a pain point, they innovate. You know what I mean? So it will change.
The biggest way to get people to switch is money. So
No, I don't agree.
I am when you look at Schwab, Merrill, JP Morgan, all these institutions for investing, they all have sign-up bonuses with tier levels. Who the hell is switching unless you're going to get a significant amount of money to switch and just do your trades and your investing somewhere else? There's no reason to switch.
The people are doing it all the time. People are doing it all. I disagree with that because everyone says, "Oh, well, this is why customers are going to Robinhood is for higher APYs." And look at them. Actually look at the new member counts. They're nowhere near even SoFi's.
Yeah.
Okay, people are not switching for APYs, and I think the user, because we're finance junkies. We're finance nerds and we like this space, that we're up on the idea of, we know what the sign-up bonuses are. We know what the APYs are. We know to look at things like Nerd Wallet and these sorts of places to shop around. The average consumer does not do that. Sadly enough, but it's so true. Being a financial advisor,
you just hit on the head. One of the biggest crimes is the level of financial literacy.
it's so true.
But
It is such a
biggest
crime, and financial literacy should be at the forefront is what is being taught in junior high and high school, because that is the most important thing. We're allowing kids to come out of high school at 18 years old and sign their life away to credit card debt and student loan debt, yet we're not doing anything to prepare them. It is absolutely crazy, some of the classes that these kids are made to take, and they are not coming out with adequate knowledge about saving, investing, balancing a checkbook, and running your financial life, and what credit means, and how to get good credit, and what not to do. Like, it's crazy that we're not doing that.
I just would not confuse what it should be done and what we do versus what the users are doing. Like I said, I was just looking at their investor presentation. As of 2021, they had 80 million active users, and they count active users by using a revenue-based product. So that's money-making users. They have 80 million users. That was Q1 of 2022. So it's been a year since then, and they've only grown. Like I showed you the chart with the downloads. I guarantee you it's much higher today. The users are not choosing based on sign-up bonuses, and they're not choosing based on APYs. Cash App offers neither one of those. That's why they have the lowest acquisition cost than any other company other than Nubank. Another company, like I said, I agree with. It's because they know how to pitch this finance company as not a finance company. They're pitching it like a social media brand. Like this is what's cool. They go to rappers and tell them to put it in their songs and these sorts of things. And it's the fun thing to do. And it doesn't matter what people say. What's
cool and what is practical for all of your needs are two different things.
I disagree. I'm an investor trying to look at which company is going to profit the most, not which is best for the user. Okay.
No, I get that. But from a consumer standpoint, once again, most consumers should, I'm not saying they are, but they should be looking at which institutions best align with their needs.
Well, I can agree that they should as well.
And on that
what are we talking about?
It makes it very hard for me to get excited about Cash App when it's not a 360 platform and they just don't have the things that somebody would need.
Yeah, but it's just too early. It's too early. They're literally, unlike SoFi and unlike Venmo,
translates to other people getting in first and the incumbent getting better. And that is a problem for Cash App.
Say that again, sorry?
It's a problem for Cash App because it allows the incumbents to get better and companies like SoFi to take massive market share and companies like Robinhood to grow their services.
Yeah, but I find that's what I would argue is not happening. Cash App is the largest grower. So people are realizing that they don't need the services in order to switch. What Cash App has is what they're happy with right now. And as the users age, Cash App's products will age with them. Like, for example, whenever they first came out, they weren't offering equity purchases and allowing you to buy securities. But today they do. And probably because their user base is also getting older. And like a company of today doesn't have to be what the company needs to be, or like that's the thing that I just argue so much with Amit and everything is every company I bring up goes, well, I can't see them offering mortgages. I was like, yeah, because you can't see them today offering mortgages. But that's the brand that they've came up with today. The brand that PayPal was whenever I originally heard of them, they were existent only on eBay. And that's the only way that I've ever seen PayPal was through eBay. Okay. Today, it's a full financial app that accepts direct deposit and all sorts of things and global to 400 million users. Like companies can evolve past the brand that they've made today. And if there's one thing that I know Jack Dorsey...
No question about that.
They have the ability to go completely global. They're already getting employees in Canada and stuff like this, and they'll be here way before SoFi or Venmo or any of those other apps are, okay? The ability for, like I said with you, Stephen, we're having to go all these different routes just to get a texting app because that's how me and you socialize, okay? if we want to start doing bets and everything like this, and I don't have Venmo...
I got your phone, but...
Yeah, I know, but if I had Cash App, what would I tell you to get? You know what I mean? Oh, let's do a bet right now. I'll send you $5, whoever's right. Let's do Cash App, because that's the only option that's cheapest to allow a peer-to-peer transaction that's also, in right now. We could do PayPal today, but no one's doing it. You know what I mean? It's what's in. That's at least what I believe. I believe that their growth is in 40% compounded annual growth rates. I feel like you can't argue with that.
No,
it's a
you
pure
can't
growth.
argue with numbers, right? Like, the numbers are the numbers. So if you trust the numbers that they're presenting and you trust the auditing firm, which I would believe is one of the big four, not looking into the company, I would make that assumption that it is one of the big four. you got to trust the numbers that they're presenting. So I'm not disputing their numbers by any means.
Tanner, I think you are right. Like, I mean, Cash App is growing like astronomically, but it's only because of convenience and nothing else.
Yeah, but so what do you need them to offer past convenience?
Well, I argue that almost the majority of Cash App users use Cash App for the most convenient thing that Cash App does, and that is sending money to people. And they also have banks. I'm pretty sure that a lot of the Cash App users are banked with JP Morgan and Wells Fargo, and they use Cash App for one thing. And I don't. Do you think that? I don't see somebody moving everything from their bank over to Cash App anytime soon. They'll use Cash App for the most convenient things. It looks really convenient buying and selling stocks there too, which is cool.
I think a lot of the things too is
sorry to just finish that
Yeah.
thought. I think SoFi's mousetrap is stronger than Cash App's, just because when I download SoFi, there's less reasons for me to download a Cash App than if I download Cash App and look for another bank. Like I can use Cash App and a few other apps, but if I download SoFi, like it just does everything for me. So,
and once again, I would say it's brand awareness. No one even knows SoFi exists.
Yeah, because their front end sucks and they're undefined. Yeah, I really think SoFi needs a massive shift on the front end, and the whole idea is that they've been working on the back end to make that front end better than.
And it's extremely hard to push a company. Like, let's say they even break profitability and can start to really ramp up their sales and marketing. You're still getting customers at an average of around $370 per user.
Yeah,
okay.
That's
Cash App can get 37
like
users.
that will change though as soon as they become profitable and they have more products. Like there is a synergy with being able to sell more products over the lifetime of the user, right?
Well, I mean, maybe, but the thing is if you continue to offer a $250 direct deposit sign-up bonus and these sorts of things that even in traditional banks know to offer, they go, okay, well, we need to offer this $250 sign-up bonus or else people don't come here. Well, you're already at a massive loss compared to Cash App, which hasn't even trained their users to even think that that's an option.
100%. And that's the interesting thing. For sure, like they beat on convenience, but SoFi has all the products. So I guess the question is, if SoFi can become convenient and be able to get this massive growth, I don't even think that SoFi wants to grow that fast because of like there are problems with growing their members like really fast, right?
Yeah, right. I just saw a comment saying this guy, Matt of the North, who's actually been a longtime viewer, so I appreciate you, Matt. He said, no way I would do direct deposit on an app that doesn't have a bank charter. This is a really, really good point that I also wanted to add on. If you go into SoFi or Square's latest quarter, you actually go to look at their Cash App inflows, it massively increased due to a bunch of their users, and this is due to financial illiteracy, but it's still true, that they were so scared of the banks collapsing that they actually ran to Cash App.
Yeah.
They said, we need to get out of these banks. And their inflows had seen the largest amount of inflows that they had ever seen. Now it's false because you're still putting it in with a sponsoring bank.
Does Block have a bank charter?
Nope.
No, it's all sponsored banks.
The money
grow so fast.
FDIC insured, correct?
Sorry?
The money's FDIC insured?
Correct. As far as I know, yeah.
Okay.
So they do just deal with sponsoring banks. And just to stop any comments before someone says anything, do they have a bank charter? No. They have a lending charter that allows them to actually, I don't actually know the specifics, but it has nothing to do with using deposits for their loans. So no, look, they're not a bank.
While the money that is being deposited is FDIC insured, I do agree with whoever made that comment. I would never direct deposit into anything that wasn't a bank.
That's not what the numbers say, though. I don't care what what you guys do. You're not the
Okay,
audience.
so Tanner, so you say that's what the numbers say. How many of their users are set up with direct deposit? What percentage?
I
Do they
don't know.
say that?
They might say that, but I'm not sure.
That would be an interesting number because you can't really say that's what the number. That's not what the numbers show without knowing what percentage of their users do direct deposit.
Yeah, sorry. I was mainly speaking on the fact that their inflows had increased at the highest rate due to
Yeah, I'm
failing
not
banks.
saying I wouldn't fund Cash App with a couple bucks here and there, but putting your direct deposit with an institution that's not a bank, for me, never going to happen.
Yeah, their bank charter is an industrial charter. Not exactly. I'll need to look into that more, but yeah, it's not actually a nationally chartered bank.
So Cash App has an astronomical lead built on convenience that nobody else can matches. How
It's the brand. It's the brand that no one can match. No one can match the where are the people wanting to use? What's the, like, it's a verb. Cash App me. You know what I mean?
I still think Cash App is like in a niche. They're not capturing like everybody who's anybody. I would say
It's a younger audience.
Very younger audience. They don't have like solid jobs. They're still trying to figure stuff out. And they probably don't, like, the banking industry is just so complex and it's hard to even understand what any of this stuff is. So Cash App, I understand cash. I get that, but like, okay, so what stops SoFi from growing at like just astronomical rates? It's like the convenience factor that, because
it's got to be known.
$3,000 too.
It's got to be known. It's got to be cool, and it's got to be trusted.
Sure.
And we trust that because we know what a national.
Just said it. Cash App has 2 million active direct deposit. So how many members do they have? Did you say?
I don't know. If
they have. I would guess. I would assume probably 85 million or something.
Okay.
But you know what? They are a peer-to-peer.
So
But even that, like
2.3%.
Cash App has 2 million active direct deposit users. That's more than SoFi.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but their member base is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
So they got like 2.3% of their users have direct deposit with them.
Yes. Right now.
Yeah.
But also, but that's what I mean though. Like that's a lot of room to grow. like they're a low margin business, but have so much room to scale. It's crazy. That's what you want to see though.
How you say they have room to scale, but like how?
Because 2 million of their users are direct deposit.
Okay.
If the largest, so whenever you do direct deposit, that means all the spend goes to that app as well. If they're the primary bank, if that's the primary banking relationship, then you get all the spend. This was one of the points that Square also said, Block, is that if they do have a direct deposit relationship, their average customer, the revenue per active customer, 6x's versus just a peer-to-peer client.
So Tanner, do you think Block has the potential, I'm not saying will, has the potential to compete with the large financial institute, large money centers, your JP Morgan, Chase, your Bank of America, Citibank, in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yes, I think they are today. How can you scoff at any company that has 90 or roughly 85 to 90 million users in a country that has 300 plus million people?
Yeah, but like a lot of those users in this country.
Yeah, but hold on. You
banks.
can't make that type of a statement because you can have your banking with one of those big money centers and still use PayPal, use Venmo, use Cash App, and use all these things. So that's apples and oranges.
Yeah, but the thing is that their average revenue per customer is skyrocketing. Since 2016, it went from $5, like I said, to $47 as of Q1 of 2022. These aren't going down. So
but it doesn't,
more and more of the customer's relationship is being used on this platform. I think that'll continue to increase. So I do think that a lot of these banks are looking at Cash App as a large competitor. The thing is there's a lot of products that have massive relationships with banks, like just debit card products and credit card products that are being very easily taken away by Cash App right now. If they can offer an easy 2% cash back Cash App card, oh, my battery died. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Bear with me real quick as I just get this this number for you. I'm just looking for the percentage of users. Okay, 53 million. Oh, okay, so yeah. This just tells you how big. I think maybe they have way more actives than we think, because 53 million people have a Cash App card, which does dig into a large industry that banks are trying to go after, is only 38% of their monthly actives. Okay, so I don't know what percentage that actually makes their users, but like that's extremely large. So not only did in March of 2021, they only had 39 million active cards, but now they have 53. It also went up in terms of percentage of users from 28% to 38%.
So look at the last two comments. Rafi B. I've been a SoFi customer for about 3 years now, and I find myself using new products with them. About to wrap up my 401k rollover into a robo-advisory and also rolling over my Roth IRA. Jim Tim. I've used Cash App maybe twice. I use Zelle way more. The convenience is within the bank.
I appreciate the anecdotal evidence.
Well, look, it's two comments, but when
two SoFi weekly user comments.
No, but think about like, at least the way
I think the question is like, what is Cash App's moat?
Yeah, what makes them so unique? Like what's the
all of the things that they do can be replicated and can be easily switched from like their member to another member. SoFi does more than Cash App, but of course nobody knows.
I mean, they have their own ETFs.
Yeah, I mean, like SoFi's building a lot of stuff.
Free financial planners. I mean, the amount of stuff that they have is huge.
Yeah. So, like, what is?
I would say products are easy to copy. Users are not. The users are at Cash App. I would be more worried about the people who have a product advantage, because that's what Cash App can create.
Okay, but think about it in the inverse. Cash App has 85 million customers, whatever it is.
Yeah.
2% do direct deposit. If Cash App doesn't, 2.3%, whatever. If Cash App doesn't expand product offerings to what the customer needs, are they going to see their people that are getting new jobs, making more money, that has a need for other products? Are they going to see them leave the platform and go to somebody else?
They'll leave the platform and go somewhere else. But you said if they don't create, they've been creating.
I'm just saying, like right now, they have a very slim amount of products that are actually needed in the financial spectrum.
I think I look at SoFi and
I feel that way too, George.
I look at SoFi and Cash App and I like to step back and just think, who is doing the hardest thing? Like SoFi is on all fronts doing the hardest thing, which is redoing the entire banking infrastructure for other people to build on top of. Cash App is just like building a front end on partner banks that are all stuck in banking 3.0. I don't see. I get in the near term, like their growth is just irreplaceable. Like nobody can compete with that. But when it really comes down the line, when they're trying to compete with like mortgages and stuff, they're going to be outgunned. There's no way that they're going to be able to compete with companies that are based off of like banking 3.0. Excuse me, 3.0 technology. I meant to say that other banks are on 2.5. If you look that up, if you're listening, you don't know what I'm talking about, just look it up. It'll make sense. There's no way that these sponsor banks are. I mean, sorry, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I don't think that they need to directly be the actual holder of that mortgage. Like, why can't they have a Pagaya
the front end for a bunch of sponsor banks?
Yeah, why not just be the upstart or the Pagaya of the loan and still hold the customer relationship?
Okay.
Like, but this is what I mean. Like, if we try to look at it the way old companies have done it, then yeah, we're going to get lost. But like, they have so much room to build, and I think the one thing that allows them to have all the power is the user base, and that's not just the largest right now, but also the fastest growing. That is a scare. Well, it's like I said, not the largest, but the second largest, but also the fastest growing, and by a large margin.
Yeah.
Guys, I think we're at a little bit of a merry-go-round right now. I don't know. I just think it's worth looking into. I think looking at the numbers alone doesn't paint the full picture of where they're going. Like I said, the thing from the start, they're not even expecting that their growth is going to stay stagnant. It's actually expected to increase. They're going to hold up a 40% compounded annual growth rate is now what they're projecting at lower costs of revenue. That's a dangerous combination.
Dude,
and
honestly, if SoFi is building what they're saying they're building, I don't see a better customer than Cash App.
Sorry, say that again.
If SoFi is saying what they are trying to build, like, why not build that shit for Cash App?
Well, so let's talk about that real quick. Because this is the SoFi Weekly. So if there's users still here to listen about SoFi, I'll talk about SoFi just really quickly. Currently, out of the 38 million users that are, or sorry, 53, did I say? I'll go back up. 53 million users that are using Cash App Card. Right now, all that payment processing is going through Marqeta. It makes up roughly 75% of Marqeta's entire processing volume.
Wow.
Marqeta,
and that's Galileo's direct competitor.
Right. Marqeta is an index for how Cash App Card is doing. That's how large they are.
Interesting.
It's like a little side bet on Cash Card. Okay, it's entirely Cash Card. That is coming up for renewal like in a couple months, and they have not renewed yet. And so what people are talking about, throwable in the chat, if you're still here, I appreciate you. This was the man with the idea, is that they could be looking for a switch, and who better than a newly formed Galileo and Technisys, giving them a completely new,
that'd be really cool.
53 million users in a single, customer is insane.
And we're building everything that Cash App wants. Like,
say that one more time.
We're building exactly what Cash App needs and wants to like plug in to their app. Just really cool.
And think about this, Riley. Dorsey used to work with Noto. They know each other.
Oh, that's so true. Like,
exactly.
He loves Noto.
Exactly.
Hell, dude, this is actually, I've never thought about this. This is
that could be huge for both companies because look, at that point, Cash App will be able to deliver the products that people need. And then SoFi will be generating all the revenue because they're going to be providing the back end that Cash App sits on.
Marqeta and Galileo are very similar companies. There is no way that they won't have something to show them that Cash App would not be interested in.
Okay, so Tanner, you said that
this is very real possibility.
You said that I'm going to blow your brain right now. You said that they're diluting shareholders, and I don't understand growth, and they're making these acquisitions to grow, putting profits on the side for the future. I get that. Companies do that all the time. Do you think, given Noto and Dorsey's history and the type of products that SoFi is doing in SoFi's business, that Block would try to acquire SoFi?
No, because of the bank charter. Like I said, there won't be I don't believe anyone will acquire SoFi other than a larger bank. I think that it would really stun Cash App.
How does it really change Block's business though? If they had a bank charter?
I think it would be very hard for a bank to go global, like dealing with every single different government regulations, stuff like this. And at least that's what I've seen historically. Banks seem to have a really hard time going global versus companies that are just renting charters, like PayPal, for example, that are able to cross borders quite easily. And I do think that Cash App's future moat is global. It's a PayPal style play. but with an e-commerce, like we're just talking about Cash App, by the way. There's still an e-commerce component here. I did want to just say something to Joshua. Once again, I appreciate the donos, guys, but you guys should just be buying the membership for a month. Like you're going to get more out of your.
I'll be back in a sec.
You're going to get exclusive content from that. Anyway, Cash App is not unique. It's not highly specialized, but that's not the point. It's easily accessible and people are using it, period.
So
I
I
agree.
got a question.
Thank you, Joshua.
What was the point that they changed Square to Block? Are they like really like focused on blockchain technology?
Yeah, it had like a triple entendre. It was like I forget all the different ones. They wrote it out somewhere, but it had to do with blockchain technology. There's a bunch of things. I forget, but that's definitely a Googleable answer.
Okay.
They're big, and Jack Dorsey's a Bitcoin maximalist. So
what did they say that they want to do with the Cash App? Like what in actual earnings and investor calls, like do they say that they want to add more and more products to the Cash App? Because if that's the case, man, this is like SoFi is going like through the back door, building from the very bottom up, trying to get where Cash App is. But Cash App just started at the very top, being cool, like you said. And I mean, like all they're missing is like the best infrastructure tech, and then they make it. Like there's no stopping them. I mean, like I don't feel like Cash App really has a monopoly just yet, but like I mean, it doesn't look like a stretch to get that part of like the infrastructure. So it's the operational costs just go down like tenfold.
guys, I'm not just get so many comments because I'm sweating here. It's because I'm trying to reduce the amount of fans because they all make noise. And I'm trying to do that for your audio quality, okay? But I keep leaning over and turning on a fan just to cool myself. If I just had a fan on, I wouldn't be sweating. But it's so hot in here. These LED lights that are brightening me, if these weren't on, it'd be a pitch black room. I'm under heat lamps right now.
Tanner, I forgot to mention, I'm actually going to be in Toronto for the first time in my life Wednesday.
Cool, man. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Are you visiting Tevi?
No,
Tevis?
no, I'm not going to talk to that guy, the guy that drinks coffee in castles.
Wait, what did you just say?
I'm going to
Drink coffee and what?
Castles.
He's I hate to say it, but he's a metrosexual. He's just very goofy.
What is? I don't understand coffee and castles. What does that mean?
He's just like traveling through Europe, and
He's just living a very bougie life.
Oh,
he
he's
messaged us and
drinking.
like,
He's legitimately
"Guys,
drinking
I'm fucking
coffee
drinking,
in
like,
castles.
coffee inside of like a 1,300-year-old castle," and I just thought that was just so dumb.
Sounds pretty cool.
Sounds cool,
Pretty
but
fun.
I just think
Sounds pretty fun, actually.
I guess so. But he also called North America trash, so fuck him.
Guys, I don't know where we go from here. I think maybe we call it. Thanks to everyone. I mean, there's a ton of comments.
We got a World of Warcraft question. I love that. I am playing Wrath of the Lich King. Classic.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
I don't
know
see
you
that in
are.
comments.
I really should be an Activision Blizzard shareholder. I love
Steven, you need to do Twitch. You need to be a streamer. And
I have thought about it.
Dude, people would watch you.
Dude,
And
I
start
freak the
talking about,
fuck
like,
out. When I raid, dude, I get down.
Is it only World of Warcraft, or do you get into stuff like other Blizzard games? Like, are you going to be playing like Diablo 4 or whatever
No. So
in a couple days?
I have a long history of World of Warcraft back in the day. Like I actually started playing it a month after it was released in 2004.
Wow.
Like I actually got to 60 before any of this stuff. Like when Classic was really classic, no add-ons or anything, and ran a pretty big guild for 3 years when it was first out in Classic and Burning Crusade. So off and on since I was really, really into it. But to answer Tanner's question, I will play anybody, anytime for money in Age of Empires or Warcraft 3. Hit me up. We can do per game methodology or best out of 5. Don't care. You can even pick what race I play, doesn't matter. Or
Does that
queuing,
also
undead,
translate?
night elf, doesn't matter.
Does that translate to StarCraft?
No, I've never played StarCraft. I was always in the World of Warcraft, Warcraft 3 realm and 2, but I do like those thinking games. I think of it as 4D chess, actually.
Gotcha. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. I'm off. You guys can continue talking if you want, but
No, I actually
midnight.
have to get up early tomorrow.
I love all of you. Tevis loves all of you, even though he left. Amit probably likes you. I don't know.
I am going to say that Tevis's Wi-Fi just was too much for him to take.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I thought he was coming home today, but maybe not. All right. Peace, guys.
You know what we need to do?
No.
What do you mean no?
No, I'm saying we're ending it. You're not holding me here. I'm
No,
leaving right
you
now.
know what
I'm
we
leaving.
need to
I'm leaving.
do? We need to make a public profile of investments, and we'll throw in X amount of money and have us be an investment committee, and we can only invest if everybody agrees.
Okay.
I think we should do that.
Dude, I gotta go. You like dividends. I like growth. We'll never
I
agree.
like everything. Dude, I own like over 100 companies.
Okay. First position, we're gonna buy Nvidia.
$1 trillion valuation.
I'll see you later, Steven.
Later.